boys are going to bring the heat today.
As the leader of the Booner Pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to the Crunch Time Sports Show with Jeff, Booner, Lukas. It is Thursday, January 23rd. We got a packed show. A lot transpired today. Lions hiring coaches. We got two special guests joining. We had some great guests on yesterday. We're following it up back to back. I can't wait for it. I'm fired up on today, boys. We got lots to get to. A lot of rumored things happening with Detroit Lions coaches. We got news of the Detroit Lions hiring a coach, potentially two coaches very soon. But how we feeling today, boys? How we doing?
Feel beautiful.
You feeling beautiful? That's awesome.
Yeah, Klotz, go ahead. I'll go after you.
My bad, Boone. I stepped on the toes there.
Hey, it's your world. Boone's living in it. Love it. I'm just kidding.
No, don't pull that card. No. But hey, good day.
Let's see. Someone just said fix the date on today's show.
The date's good. I went.
No, it's last year. It's 24. I'll fix that.
Oh, Jeff.
It's the right.
Am I tweaking?
Yeah, it's the right
it says
month
24
and day.
on the thumbnail.
Hey, maybe I want to go back a year. All right, the Lions are playing this weekend. All right,
go back and warn
them. Relive what we just watched.
No, not relive. You go back and you warn those boys. Hey, this is what's going to happen. You figure this thing out. Be prepared. Be prepared. Hey, Jaden Daniels, I'm going to tell you what. The Bruins are coming.
Yeah,
I'll go back and warn them.
You're going to face a 6 seed, and it's going to be tough for you.
I'll show up and give them the game plan. I know exactly what's going to happen. I'll help you guys out. I've got this thing in the back of my head.
There.
Ready to go.
No, I'm an idiot. So that's on me, chat. That's on me. Thanks for accountability. I love accountability here. Okay. Accountability is key. If someone messes up, you call them out. All right. If the date's wrong, you say, Jeff, you're an idiot. Fix the date. I appreciate that. But we got two guests joining today. I'm excited about it. You saw it. At least I got this right. In the thumbnail, Jeremy Risman will be joining us at 8:30. You guys know who that is. Doesn't really need an introduction, but covers the Detroit Lions for Pride of Detroit. And then we're getting our good friend Anthony Bellino, who is the host. He hosts at Detroit Lions games. He does radio around here locally.
He's actually Anthony's a big time. He does so many events.
Yeah, he's just a man of many. What do you call it? Like a jack of all trades. He's just good at a lot of stuff. Especially sports related. So we'll get his opinion on that. But like I said, we have some things transpiring today. One of those things, boys, is what Boone.
I just want to throw it out there. Someone said, Booner, turn your mic down in the chat. We've had this conversation. My mic, we can't figure out how to turn the mic down.
Wait, Boone, can you lower a little? Not the volume. I'm saying literally lower the mic at that.
Yeah, I mean, I could try, but dude, it's just it's one volume. I need to get a mixer. I need to get
not to mention, man, it doesn't help that you were the loudest person in existence.
No.
And that's not even no, it's just you're passionate, Boone. You're passionate when you talk.
Next time I'm where all of our crunch time stuff is, I think I'm just gonna take the soundboard with me because I have to turn my mic down. There's no more dude, watching back yesterday's interview and getting clips and stuff. I was I wasn't even yelling. I was just talking normal voice. And in my ears, I'm people must really hate me. That's actually a problem. I'm too loud.
When you're
I don't know what else to do. Yeah, I don't know what to do. It's just
does your mic have an XLR cable?
It does. I would need that. I just need that, and I need a soundboard. So maybe perfect. I'll just take that. Do you have an XLR cord that I can use?
No, is your mic USB? Do you plug it in as a USB?
I could do both.
Oh, perfect. Then we're good, Boone. Yeah,
I would rather use the XLL.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. We got. We'll handle it for Boone. We got Boone. We'll handle it.
I apologize. It's on me. Maybe it sounds a little better. I'm away from the mic now, but that's on me.
But hey, guys, Jared Goff, he is an MVP finalist, and as Booner said before the season, Goff would be a finalist. He technically is a finalist.
I don't know how to do that then.
Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson. Those are the MVP finalists I'm happy Joe Burrow's getting some love here because that dude, he
sure.
deserved it. But yeah, 4 quarterbacks, 1 running back. Says a lot about what Saquon was able to do this year. Crazy.
First round running back in that, Jeff.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Here we go.
I just would like to thank my family. Listen, I'd like to thank my family, my friends, all the people who have supported the Booner path along this road here. It was a long journey, but yeah, Jared Goff. That was our bold prediction back in like April. Jared Goff would be an MVP finalist, and now we're sitting here a year later. The man's on the board.
Where are we at right now? Who should win the MVP award? Because I said when we talked about this like mid-season, and I'm like, Josh Allen. At this point, I think Lamar needs to win it, man. I'm sorry. I think Lamar, numbers-wise, he is just on another level. And they won their division. It's like I love Josh Allen, but it's hard to. The only thing top 5 in is QBR, which is great.
Who? Lamar? Oh, Josh Allen. Yeah, it's tough though. Like, you know what? Honestly, like, and Pat McAfee was talking about it today. It made complete sense. Like, if you break down the stuff that Josh Allen did do, like, obviously, I said it from the last month. Lamar's going to win it just based off the numbers. But if you do look at like the things that Josh Allen did, like the game that he had was 6 total touchdowns, 3 rushing, 3 passing. No quarterback has ever done that in the NFL. The number, I mean, this man for like 4, 5, 6 straight years, however many it is now, 40 plus touchdowns every single season. No one's ever done it. And it's like, he's just not getting any awards for it. It's crazy at this point. Like, he's just not coming out with any of awards off of these big seasons he's having. And it's like, at some point, it's like, he's got to get it. And like McAfee was saying the same thing. He's like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, I know Lamar's having these years, but like that man at some point deserves it. And then you see, obviously you can't vote because the voting's before the playoffs. And then Josh Allen goes out there and beats Lamar, essentially outplays him. They win the game. And then it's like, that doesn't even matter at that point either, because the vote's already in. So you sit there and it's like, this is a tough spot. Like, I guess for Josh, like, if you don't get an award, the best award's winning the Super Bowl. So there's that. But who knows? I don't know. My vote would be Lamar. That like, if I'm saying who would win it, but I don't know.
It's tough. And Lamar, I'm going Josh Allen, and it's really hard to debate it because the only thing you can debate is statistics. But when I watched Josh Allen this year, I consistently from game 1 to 18, because I know it's not a playoff thing. I wish it could be a playoff thing, or else I'd be saying Saquon. I think that Josh Allen was the better quarterback, plain and simple. And I'm not going to add in the situations, because I think if you look at Lamar, better running back, wide receivers, I guess Zay Flowers is there. But I think when you look at them, they're both in solid situations outside of them. They're not in terrible situations. Josh Allen, Lamar, obviously Josh Allen won more games in the AFC. I know they matched up head-to-head and Lamar beat him, and it was kind of a blowout. But I think what you've seen out of Josh Allen this year, the fact that he cut down the turnovers, he wasn't in a position where he needed to put up a lot of numbers to succeed. Like, he was in a position where he needed to play a game manager role, not take as many shots, because they weren't in a position where they could take those turnovers and do that. Like, they had Stephon Diggs, where if he needed to go down the field, he had Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. He didn't have that this year, but he was still an incredibly efficient quarterback, both on the ground and through the air. So that's why I go Josh Allen, but I'm not going to look at anybody who says Lamar's MVP as like, that's stupid. Like, no, Lamar, if he's a 3-peat MVP, you can't be mad at it.
Well, in other news, the Detroit Lions finally have a defensive line coach. It was announced today. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN announced it, and they are expected to hire Tampa Bay Buccaneers run game coordinator and defensive line coach Casey Rogers as their new defensive line coach to replace Tara Williams, who went to the New England Patriots to be Mike Vrabel's defensive coordinator. They're actually, and we'll get to it a little bit here, but they're interviewing Larry Foote as well to be their defensive coordinator. He's also a part of that same staff, but Casey Rogers, to give a little bit of a background here, he's got ties with Dan Campbell, Bill Parcells. Obviously Dan Campbell's like mentor, like the guy he always looks up to. So there's a lot of familiar relationships there. And I mean, Casey Rogers, he's been in the NFL for a while. He's been coaching since like early 2000 in the NFL. And this guy, I mean, look at Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what they've done with their defensive line, their front seven. You mentioned it earlier, Klotzy, on Bleacher Report. It's always great. And you also throw in the fact that he's been a defensive coordinator before. So he has experience there. That makes me, I know, and we'll get to it too, what that kind of means. I look a little bit into it, not too much. And I had a comment on the video I made today, breaking it on YouTube, not breaking it, but reacting to it. And someone commented, why a lateral move? This isn't, I mean, you're joining the Detroit Lions to be their defensive line coach. You're seeing what these guys around are getting hired to do everything. He's coming here to better his career, work with a familiar face, play for a better, coach for a better team. Like, it's a smart move from Casey Rogers too. But also, you know what makes this great, fellas? And I'll hand it over to you. The Green Bay Packers just interviewed this man to be their defensive line coach 2 days ago, and the Lions got him. So that's awesome. I think it's a great hire.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's a great hire. I had actually, I put out a tweet, our guy, Stephen Shea, I asked him, like, hey, like, what is this guy about? And he brought up a good point. Like, the last 3 years, they've had Vita Vea, Kalijah Cansey, and Logan Hall, like just 3 dudes that he's helped develop and help kind of get to that level. And obviously those guys are, you know, great on their own, but he's been working with like some of the best in the game over the last 3 or 4 years. He has a Super Bowl under his belt. And I do think, Jeff, like to your point, the biggest thing about him is that he has been a defensive coordinator before. And it's not like he was like a one and done type deal. He was in New York for 3 years, and he was a DC, and he's kind of been through it, and he knows what it takes. I don't think it's like a lateral move. I think the way I look at this, at least for him, is he's been working under a DC there in Tampa. At the same time, his head coach is Todd Bowles, defensive-minded coach who probably is involved a ton with the defense. So, like, he doesn't, like, yeah, he's going to have a say, but how like, where is he really at in the totem pole when it comes to, hey, full defense? I think when he gets here, whoever the new DC is, like, it feels like he's going to be like a right-hand guy. That's the feeling I get. And I think that's a good thing to have, like, a veteran presence. And if people want to think about it, like, this isn't like Bucks fans are like, why didn't we re-sign him? Like, his contract's up. Why was he not re-signed and extended in Tampa? And that's what Stephen Shea said to me. Like, he said, there's no reason he wasn't re-signed. Like, he is an elite defensive line coach. We talked about losing Terrell Williams, who Dan said is probably one of the best in the NFL. And he said, all right, how do you even replace him? Guess what? You go out and get one of the other best in the NFL. And that's exactly who he is. So I think this is a great move. Obviously, Terrell Williams is elite. He's a good DC. You're talking about a guy who's been a DC, who's been in that position, who in the future could potentially be a DC again, like Terrell Williams. So I think it's like a great move from the Lions. Like, honestly, maybe a little step back because Terrell was so good. I don't think it really is, though. I think it's like you just got a veteran guy like Terrell Williams in there. And you literally, like, this is probably the best move that Dan Campbell could have made outside of keeping Terrell Williams at that position group. So, like, these guys should be excited. I'm excited. Broderick Martin should be pumped up. Aleem McNeil should be pumped up. Mekhi Wingo should be absolutely fired up. Like, some of these dudes should be fired up for this guy coming in here. I'm excited to have him. Welcome to Detroit, Casey Rogers.
Hey, I'm excited to have him, Boone. I definitely will. And I don't want to make it seem like it's a big gap. I will say that it's definitely a step down from Terrell Williams because he was, without a doubt, that was the whole talk of the town when Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes brought him in, was he is the best defensive line coach in the NFL. And you saw that proof of the pudding this year when you look at guys like Pat O'Connor, when Josh Pascal took a step forward, Levi O, El-Qadim Muhammad, who came in mid-season and had 3 sacks to finish off the season and was consistently a presence. Like, he developed guys in the year that he was here. DJ Reader, most sacks of his career. When you talk about now bringing in Casey Rogers, it's a step down, but it's not that far of a step down. I think especially what you look at what he did in Tampa Bay, the front sevens that he had, not just the front sevens, but the defensive line in themselves, like Vita Vea. Who do they have in that Vita Vea role? Aleem McNeil on the edges. He had Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett had 19 and a half sacks his first year down there. Now you bring in Aiden Hutchinson. Who's the better player between those two? Not even a question. So I think it's definitely a good hire. And when you look at what he did in Tampa Bay, I mean, how many players on the defense or coaches on the defense side of the ball could be like, yeah, we beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl? There's only a handful because there's only one team that did it. And I think that's going to be especially vital because who else did they beat in the playoffs? The Eagles, the Rams. Like, he's seen it all against these elite quarterbacks, elite coaches in the NFC. So the fact that he also was a defensive coordinator, he's beaten the teams that are still running the NFC. I think it's a very good hire. To your point, Boone, it's probably one of the better ones that you could make after you lose Terrell Williams.
Yeah, I mean, you look around the NFL and you're like, hey, who can you get? Like, unless you're going to go get like a current DC that's stepping down and say, I'll just go back to a positional coach. Like, that's probably like, this is probably the next best thing. in my opinion. And I think he's going to do a great job. Like, obviously, it's maybe a step back from Terrell Williams because he was the best at the time at his position group. But I think, like, if you really want to be honest, like, take Terrell Williams out there. If you lined up all the defensive line coaches, I'm sure Casey Rogers is a top 3 in the NFL at his position group, which is like the fact that you have the defensive line, the struggles you had, and now you bring that into it. I'm unbelievable hire by Dan Campbell. Dan knows what he's doing, man. He really does. Like, I think it took some years to figure it out, but he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, they interviewed Larry Foote too as the defensive coordinator, so they haven't really decided on who they want. I mean, offensive coordinator. My wizard hat is I think they already know it's going to be someone within the building. Because
can I make my statement now?
Well, hold on. I have some news that came out from Michael Silver. Michael Silver says, I expect the 49ers to rehire Robert Saleh as their defensive coordinator soon.
What is this? Is this just like I expect it? Like, is this like a source? There's no source.
Michael,
I expect it.
He's
Michael Silver.
He's well connected. He's pretty well known with but again, that's what he put out there.
All right.
But what's your pitch, Boone? We need a pitch to Robert Saleh because it's not official yet.
All right. A lot of people are saying, all right, Underdog just tweeted out 49ers expected to hire Robert Saleh. Okay, maybe it is official. Maybe it's starting to get a little more official than we thought.
All right. Well, that puts up.
Okay, tough. This is a big wrench because I was ready to go all in on Robert Saleh this show.
Coach Walk said his dentist told him. Which, you never know.
Yeah. All right. I'll say this, though. Okay. Obviously, in the last hour, there's been a lot of news that's been going down. You guys saw Liam Cohen, who took the extension with Tampa. Wild situation going over there, too, like with him. He takes this massive extension, the highest paid coordinator in the NFL, and he ghosts the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today and flies back to Jacksonville because they fire their GM. Trent Baalke, and they fire him. Trent Baalke, correct?
Yes.
Yep, that's how you say it.
Fire him, and then they're like, hey, Liam, hey, we're gonna give you can bring in your own GM. So now he's on his way back to Jacksonville to meet with them. That leaves Robert Saleh without a head coaching job. If Robert Saleh, and you know what, and I'll make my pitch right now, boys. I'll make it right now. I don't care if people think he's going back to the 49ers. He might be signed by the time we end the show and by the time the statement even comes out. If Dan Campbell, Brad, if you guys are listening, make a splash. Bring Robert Saleh home. Get the man to Detroit. Bring him back to where he was born and raised, and get him back in Detroit. Make a splash. I don't care. I saw people tweeting at me, oh, Booner, he might leave next year for a head coaching job. I don't care. You have the best roster in the NFL, one of the best defensive coordinators potentially in the NFL that is is a free agent. Go give him for 1 year. Give him the most money he wants. Say, here you go, and bring him home. Bring him home. Go get Robert Saleh and put him on this football team. Let him do whatever he wants to make this a Super Bowl winning defense. A lot of people in the chat saying no. You guys obviously might not know ball. This man's one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. He's one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. And again, I see Phil there say Dennis Allen. Yes, if you can't even get Robert Saleh, Dennis Allen, you throw the bag at him too. I'll take either one. I don't prefer either. I want both. Bring them both here.
Both.
Give me either one. But I'm just like, you have to me. I'm just at this point with the defensive coordinator position to where it's like, go get someone. And I know Larry Foote was hired or interviewed and all of that. And he's going to be a great football coach. Everyone's saying around the NFL circles that, hey, he is a future NFL head coach. He's going to be a great coach. I just do not like the thought process of going into this year when you need to go win a Super Bowl of not having an experienced defensive coordinator with this group that you have. You need someone that knows what they're doing. You need someone that knows that, hey, you can rely on to give yourself a defense to win football games. And to me, Robert Saleh, Dennis Allen, people I see in the chat there, Rex Ryan, like, go get an experienced guy who has done it in the NFL and knows what it takes to put winning football and a winning defense on the field. So all the people saying no and that, listen, I know people love Kelvin Shepherd. I love Kelvin Shepherd. I know it. Deshae Townsend, love him. Go get yourself a veteran defensive coordinator, boys. Get someone that knows what it takes to win a football game on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. Especially because who was Who was the other guy that they were talking about? Or well, I'll save it because we'll probably talk about it here in a little bit. Never mind. Keep going though.
Well, I mean, Larry Foote was interviewed. Klotz, I thought you were cooking today when we talked about it, like, because I didn't really think of it. If you're going to hire Larry Foote to be your defensive coordinator, and this is nothing against him, obviously we know Larry Foote is a player, and what he's been doing in Tampa as a kind of a defensive assistant. But if you're going to hire him, and you brought this up, Klotz, I'll credit you for this. Like, if you're going to hire him, he's never been a DC, then why not Calvin Shepard? I mean, I don't understand it. And you know how I feel. I don't want a rookie defensive coordinator, but it's almost like, again, they're getting Casey in, so maybe they're kind of interviewing Foote. I see Steve Wildes put that in there.
Yeah.
And they were kind of handling the defense with Todd Bowles because they're both kind of they're like his top assistants over there on defense.
What was the Bucs' weakness this year?
Secondary.
But not just like as a whole as a team, offense or defense?
Defense.
Well, it was their secondary. Their front seven's always good.
They had some dogs, but hey, I'm just
But their corners do.
Could be someone who could put out a top 5 defense.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I like. The Lions have only had 3 losses. One of those very devastating, but the other 2, one of them was the Buccaneers. Though that front 7 was causing problems all game. I mean,
sure.
So, now, are you getting
Jaden Daniels? You watch them against Jaden Daniels. They're making that man run around.
They're making him run around. Yeah. So I think that Larry Foote, it's like cool. And interview him. Do your due diligence. I got this feeling. Dennis Allen's still out there. And we've been hammering this. I think we were the first ones because Corey, I'm going to keep giving him credit because Corey brought it up first. He was the first person I ever heard bring it up. And he mentioned, man, there's a chance. We put it as a reel, upload on everything. There's a chance Dennis Allen, there's still a chance. Remember, it was all reported on like Monday. He's gone. He's a Bears coach. DC, expected soon. And then Corey comes out. He's like, whoa. Maybe Dennis Allen's waiting for AG. And now Dennis Allen, what do the Bears do? Interview Aubrey Pleasant. So I still like the Lions being alive in the Dennis Allen race. And the credit to Corey for kind of opening my eyes to that. He deserves all the credit for that. But I hope it is Dennis Allen. I wouldn't mind Robert Saleh, Boone, if I'm being honest. I want if there's an off chance he isn't in with the 49ers, I don't mind it. Him and Dan Campbell.
I'll be honest too, like the Larry Foote thing, and I know, like, obviously for me, number one thing is like I would love a coach that has experience. That I've made that very clear. I think at this point, I think we all have. But if Larry Foote does get the job, I'm going to be honest. Like I don't think I'd be that mad. I think Larry Foote would be very good at that position. Like everything I'm reading today on Twitter, as this is all coming out, it's like obviously we're not that involved in Tampa Bay, their season and what they're doing defensively with guys like Larry Foote and their positional coaches. But everything, once this does come out, that's when you start seeing like the truths of coaches come out. You see the side of it's like, hey, no, this guy, what is this guy even in the mix for? Or you'll see, hey, this guy is actually going to be a very good coach. Everything with Larry Foote, and I'm not just because he went to Michigan or he's played in Detroit. I have seen lots of positive things, and I can reach out to some people from Tampa and see what they say about him and what he's been since he's been there. But everything is positive on Twitter about him, saying that he's going to be like, he's expected to be a DC in the next year or two. Like he's going to be a very good defensive coordinator and even a head coach in the NFL. And it's like, I think Kelvin, like in-house, yes, you think he can make that step. But if there's a guy like Larry to where it's like everyone in the NFL world thinks that he's on that level of becoming a head coach in the NFL, like that's who you're trying to fill your coordinator positions with. And if you feel comfortable enough to do that with a guy like Larry Foote, and it's like, boy, it's like, and as much as it sucks for Calvin Shepard, it's if you can add another guy like that to your staff, like you're not going to get Larry Foote and say, hey, take over the linebackers position and we're going to move Calvin up.
Oh, maybe Calvin's not ready.
You keep Calvin at the linebackers position and you add Larry Foote and you get both of them next year in the same room working with each other. That's like another leg up. Like that's better than just moving Calvin up and not even getting Larry Foote. So if that's the kind of thought process that Dan's having and you tell Calvin like, hey, Larry's going to get a job as a head coach in the next 2 years. Like he is on that trajectory. You're the next man up. And it gets Kelvin even more experience and even more and more. And he can even see a guy like Larry Foote, who's in the position he's in. How did he approach and take that step as a DC? And he can learn with him and see how he does it. And then Kelvin's the next man up. So I think honestly, like I know it's like I don't really want a rookie DC, but if I think Larry Foote would actually do a good job. Like I truly do. And coming from a Todd Bowles, like he's coming from a head coach, a defensive head coach, and Todd Bowles, who has been very good in his career.
One of his like top guys too. Like
like right hand guys and like the big time guys. So I do think he would be a good DC. I don't want to completely put that out of the picture and say no, he wouldn't. No, I think he would actually be very successful.
I don't think he'd be bad. I would just definitely prefer Kelvin. Like there hasn't been a thing coaching wise that I've been disappointed in with Kelvin Sheppard at all. Like I think if you look at the development at the linebacker position, it's been the most significant out of any position group in this Detroit Lions defense. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson obviously on the defensive line. I mean, Ali McNeil's developed a little bit, but you look at that linebacking room. I mean, they're not turning into Pro Bowlers and all pros, but you look at Alex Anzalone, what he was before he came to Detroit. Jack Campbell, the one that really I was like, okay, Kelvin Sheppard could definitely be the defensive coordinator is Malcolm Rodriguez, the 6th, 7th round pick out of Oklahoma State and had a rookie tackle year with 99 tackles, and he just looked fundamentally sound. You look at Trevor Nowaski, you look at Ben Neiman, constantly these guys are just thrown in the linebacking room, and yes, they give up plays. Like when you look at Jamal Adams on Josh Allen, well, what do you think's going to happen? But when you look at how Kelvin Sheppard has just absolutely developed all these linebackers, he hasn't done anything wrong. And you've seen how glued he's been to Aaron Glenn's hip. The mentality, the accountability would stay the exact same. And there's nobody on this defense outside of maybe Deshae Townsend that knows these players better than Kelvin Sheppard, especially on that defensive line. So Kelvin Sheppard, I think, would be the move before Larry Foote. I wouldn't be disappointed, but it'd kind of be one of those things where, okay, obviously Kelvin's just not ever going to be the DC, because if I'm Kelvin Sheppard after Larry Foote leaves, like, why would I, like, if I'm getting
you would take
like,
that job.
Possibly, but it's one of those things where if he becomes a hotter candidate, like I would go elsewhere to be a DC after.
But if you get the opportunity to be a DC in Detroit when Larry Foote gets a head coaching job, he would not turn that down.
Possibly,
like he wouldn't.
Possibly.
Like, Klotz, I get what you're saying. Like I'm with you. If Larry Foote wasn't an option, and like I get what you're saying. But if Kelvin doesn't go to Chicago or Kelvin doesn't go to New York with AG and Kelvin stays put this year, and he's already told you that, you're going to look at it and be like, why would I not want to have both of those guys in my room? Like you're going to, if you move Kelvin up, you're going to get a new linebackers coach, a guy who's really never coached that you're going to give a new opportunity to come like up in the ranks when it's like, hey, I could just go get Larry Foote. Like Larry's not going to come over and be a linebackers coach. He's doing that in Tampa. Like he's Todd Bowles' right-hand man in Tampa. So it's like he's going to stay. Why not be able to have both of them if you have the opportunity? That's the sense that I'm looking at. And again, if Kelvin gets this job in the next week, we know he's ready to go because Dan's not going to give him the job if he doesn't think he's ready. But if he doesn't get the job, Klotzy, I truly, and as much as you might hate to hear this and other people, if he doesn't get the job, in my mind, that's just Kelvin might not be as ready as we thought that he was.
I agree.
And that's just, and I love Klotz, but if he, or not Klotz, Kelvin, but if he doesn't get that, that just means like, hey, he is not at that level yet because he could have got the job with Ben in Chicago. He could have got it in New York with AG, and he could have gotten here with Dan Campbell. If he doesn't get any of those 3 DC jobs, he's probably like, hey, we need to get him going more. Like we need to develop Kelvin more. He needs to take that next step.
Yeah, Steve Wiles says get a little more season.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's like, dude, you still have him as your linebackers coach. Like that's like, and you get Larry Foote. Like you have 2 elite linebacker coaches in there now, and you have an elite future DC and head coach in Larry Foote.
Can I add this too? 2 things. One,
no.
We've seen guys, assistant coaches get interviewed. I mean, Tanner Engstrand was a pass game coordinator, got interviewed to be an offensive coordinator. We haven't seen Kelvin Sheppard get interviewed for anything, right?
Deshae Townsend, the secondary coach.
So I'm not saying he'll never be qualified, but I tend to lean that way of like, maybe he's just not ready. You know, maybe it's like AG in the fan base is like trying to make him ready, but I don't think I don't know if he's ready. And I'm still.
That's why I
still want an experienced DC. So I'm still.
If Dan gives him the job, then in my opinion, that's like, okay, I think we're confident to say he is ready to go. But if he doesn't get a job with any of those 3 places where he's connected very well, like he just worked with AG for 3 years. If AG, like maybe AG wants an experienced guy, but like, again, that's a great spot for him to start. Chicago, great spot for him to start.
Yeah, Ben wants to take Hank Fraley with him. He's never.
None of them. Why isn't Kelvin getting those looks? Like it's just a little odd to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's something I'll definitely ask Jeremy about because I mean,
I want to know his opinion on the DC stuff. I'm interested.
Yeah, the DC, I'm still going to stick. I think it's still going to be Dennis Allen, even though they're doing their due diligence. And I think on for the offense, I do think it's still going to be Tanner Engstrand. So that's where I'm leaning with it still. But I like Larry Foote. Think it's interesting, but I get and someone said too, I think it was on Twitter, but they were like, you think it's a problem, that they hire a defensive line coach and Dennis Allen's going to come in. Don't you think he would want his own staff, around him? And I'm thinking, who wouldn't want this guy, Casey Rogers, to be their defensive line coach? You know what I mean? I don't think that has too much effect on who they hire as the DC. Unless,
to be fair, AG was here for a while. They let go of guys, and Dan kind of was the one that stepped in and I'm pretty sure Dan's the one that had the connection with Terrell Williams, guys that he's brought in. I mean, maybe AG has at some points, but your head coach, like if you're Dan, you're wanting to make sure that your staff's boom, 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 boom. Like, yeah, I don't take a lot of account into that, to be honest.
Yeah, let me see. People are chiming in here, and I want to make sure I can kind of check them out. Dolo Dynamite says Glenn DC is Steve Wilkes. Stephen Clark says has to be Dennis Allen type coach, someone that can handle the position without a growing pain, considering the Super Bowl aspirations. Stephen Clark, well said. Well said. I agree with that. Let's see here. Blue and Silver says no. Glenn says Shepard knows everything he wants. Michael says Ben and AG have not picked their staff yet, have they? It's just been rumored at this point, and then they've interviewed. I know Ben, they've interviewed guys, but AG, I don't think they've interviewed anyone. There's just that rumored list of guys he'd be bringing in. So no, I don't know. I'm curious to see who Ben brings in as offensive coordinator. Ben's going to call plays, so it's basically just going to be like, it's like LA with Sean McVay. Like he has an OC, but he's just kind of there to help out. He's not actually calling plays. So I don't know. Apparently, I'm going off Mark Ryan's dentist. I believe it's going to. I believe Hank Fraley's going to stay.
Reliable source.
Shout out Mark Ryan. But yeah, I'm really depending on your dentist, Mark Ryan.
So we need to ask Jeremy about that too.
Yeah, don't let me down, please. Don't let me down. Let's see. Diggity Dog. Assume Brad Holmes and MCDC are very busy watching the Crunch Time chat for insights into their best hiring options. I bet they are, to be honest with you. Steve Wild says, I poached the Rams offensive assistants for OC. Man.
I did say, I know he hasn't. I think he might have been the Jets OC at one point, but LaFleur's little brother. Yeah, he's learned under McVay the last few years. That's definitely an option.
He was the OC when Mike White was going crazy.
Yeah,
I was a Mike White fan.
Anyone in New York had a chance there. I remember when I brought up Mike LaFleur a couple of months ago, a lot of people in the chat shot it down. They were like, no, he didn't work in New York. Like, no one worked in New York. Like, what do you have there? So he's been successful in LA with McVay.
I mean, that's fair. I see Jason Garrett.
Not a chance, bro. Jason Garrett.
Oh, he's so old, man.
The Jason Garrett experience?
No, I would be that offense would put us to sleep. You wouldn't know, no. Jason.
Oh, who did I think of earlier today? It was just like an old coach.
Jason Garrett.
Who was it? Oh.
Yeah, I don't know about Jason Garrett.
Wait a second. Let me make sure. Do I have the right guy? Yeah. Oh, okay. Never mind. Mike McCarthy. Big Mike.
Bring him OC?
In. OC. He's not going to get a head coaching job. He's going to sit at home.
He's gonna sit on the sideline this year, probably. He's still going to be getting paid by the Cowboys. Oh, no, because his contract's up, isn't it? So, no, he'll sit on that Cowboys money. He'll wait for somebody to come calling. He'll be the Vrabel.
He's got no money. He's not getting paid next year. He needs to work.
Money. Booner.
He spends his money. The man eats well.
I'm pretty sure there was a gap between him and the Packers, wasn't there?
I think he got fired though. I think he had like a contract.
Yeah, LaFleur got fired, but I don't think. You're saying he still had his contract.
I think McCarthy was getting paid those years. Like Gruden got fired. Like Gruden right now is getting paid by the Raiders. So like Gruden's like, I'm cool. Like I'm not stressed about getting another job.
Didn't
Raiders
Gruden
are still paying him
a 10-year contract?
I don't know if it was 10,
like
but he got like a massive deal, huge deal. But and then he got fired, and he's like, they still got like guaranteed money. Like, so he's just sitting on the side. But like Mike McCarthy's not making any money. He's not.
Mike,
Big Mike. No.
Pete Carroll's going to Vegas.
I saw rumors. I saw a post that someone said that Matt Patricia reunion in Detroit for DC.
No,
stop it, dude.
Come on. Why not?
Yeah,
I did see. Shout out Stick too. Stick posted John Gruden for OC or something. I think it was John Gruden.
That was Stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Gruden.
You said it like I didn't say it was Stick.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you said someone. My bad. Yeah, John Gruden for OC, huh? I mean, come on.
Gosh. These names that get thrown around are
John Gruden for OC, Matt Patricia for DC. I mean, let's just, what?
Okay.
You know, who I think would make a great OC, and he's not there, but I think Alex Smith. He's kind of like a Dan O, but I think he's a little bit more.
Dan or
think about.
I got a lot of hate for that. Got a lot of hate for that.
Game managers are very good coaches. Alex Smith would be a good coach.
Usually,
to be honest,
maybe Nate Sudfeld. You know what? Nate Sudfeld. Make him the DC.
Quarterback's coach.
Oh, he's been holding the
quarterback's.
He's golf.
He's a great Jared. He is Jared Goff. He does everything for Jared Goff
on
game day. I mean, you need that. Real quick, Dan Orlovsky. I got killed for that. It got into Chicago Twitter. They acted like Lions fans and said, "Yeah, let's do this 100%." I started clicking.
Yeah, of course they want Dan Orlovsky.
Chicago Bears Twitter guys.
Let's bring in our guest here. I mean, needs really no introduction. Covers the Detroit Lions for Pride of Detroit. Shout out to him, man, for joining the program as well. But Jeremy Risman, Jeremy, what's going on?
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
We're doing good. Just having a lot of partially brain dead conversations about John Gruden as OC. But Jeremy, I want to ask you to kind of start off here. Your reaction, because I am interested in your opinion. I know you guys have been probably pumping out articles about it too, but the new defensive line coach and kind of what went behind that. I know, he's got ties to Dan Campbell, Bill Parcells, and he's highly regarded, but what do you make of the hire?
Yeah, no, I think anytime you're kind of poking from a Todd Bowles defense, you're probably picking a good fit, a strong candidate, and a guy who has a pretty big track record of producing young, strong defensive line talent. We heard last year, when they traded for Carlton Davis, how he made such a strong impression in his game against the Lions. And you think about all 3 games against the Buccaneers in the past 2 years or so. And that defense has been one of the few defenses that has given the Lions some problems. And I would say it probably starts with that defensive line. It's always, they've always had a really strong run defense in Tampa. So I think that was probably the initial attraction. We know that the Lions want to stop the run first. But you look at guys like Vita Vea, you look at guys like Kalijah Cansey, those guys were also their leading sack getters this year. And so getting a little interior pressure in 2025, I think would carry this Lions defensive line and really whole defensive unit. That's something they've really been missing for a very long time. If they can get that out of him this year, that could do wonders.
Yeah. Hey, Jeremy. Hey, first off, hope you had a great season. Off season now, so it's still busy for everyone. But I do want to ask, obviously, the big news, the DC and the OC. The first one I want to talk about, though, is just the defensive coordinator position. Yeah. Larry Foote today. I just want to get your thoughts on the way you think the Lions will approach it, because we've been on this train of we would love here at least to get a kind of a vet or an experienced DC in the building to keep this defense going, obviously with the Super Bowl roster. What are your thoughts? Do you think they go kind of a rookie defensive coordinator, or do you think Dan looks like a Dennis Allen or someone with some more experience going into next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're at least going to see if they can get some of those veteran guys, or at least have conversations with them. I think Dennis Allen is a guy that, if they haven't already called, they're going to call at some point, just because there's the obvious connection there. The biggest thing I came away from Dan Campbell's presser this week is we don't really want to change all that much. We want to kind of be who we are. We kind of have our identity set. It's just a matter of getting a really good teacher in that philosophy. And obviously Dennis Allen is going to have a lot of overlap philosophies of Aaron Glenn, considering how long they work together. So I think that makes sense. It could also be an internal guy for sure. Obviously Kelvin Shepherd has kind of been the big name there. But to me, I do think the Lions defensive staff is relatively young. And I would like to see them tap into some of those guys that have a little bit more experience exterior. It might not make a guy like Kelvin Shepherd too happy to see someone jump him like that. But again, like I do think Kelvin Shepherd is he's a little young. Like he only has 6-ish years of coaching. It might not even be that many years. So it's early for him to get a defensive coordinator gig. And in my opinion, at the same time though, you hear Aaron Glenn talk about him and you hear Aaron Glenn say, we've been mentoring him. He thinks about the game exactly like I do. And that's going to be appealing to Detroit. So I think they're going to have to make a tough decision. Is he ready for that jump? Is he ready for play calling duties? There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just a matter of knowing the scheme front to back. It's managing an entire defense on game day, which is an entirely different process. So it would be a significant jump for him. I think he's going to get serious consideration for that, but I'm with you. I would like to see them go a little bit outside of their comfort zone. Not that Dennis Allen is necessarily out of their comfort zone, but at least throw their hat into the ring of some of those more experienced guys, because I think the Lions could use it.
Do you have just a random name? Like I threw out Rex Ryan a couple days ago. Do you have someone off right field that you're like that? Don't be shocked, but be shocked a little bit.
No, I mean I haven't done a ton of research on that just because there's so much going on in this final week. My guy Eric Schlitt wrote I think he had 10 or 12 defensive coordinators or defensive coordinator candidates. I would recommend going over there. That's right. But yeah, I mean, it looks like Robert Saleh's going back to the 49ers. That would have always been an interesting one. But I tend not to throw my hat into some of these guessing games. I'm more interested in doing research on the guy they eventually pick.
Yeah, that's fair. Go ahead, Carson.
Jeremy, you were kind of just talking a second ago about needing to get outside of their comfort zone, and obviously coaching situations going on right now, but we're going to hit free agency sooner rather than later. And when you look at Brad and you look at how he's kind of attacked free agency and the draft as well, do you think he needs to go kind of into more of a win now mindset? Just because when you look at the history of the NFC specifically, when you look at who's going to be expected to win the NFC this year, the Philadelphia Eagles this offseason, they made a win now move acquiring Saquon Barkley. They're probably going to be in the Super Bowl. When you look at the last Super Bowl, the 49ers, they made win now moves in both Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams, even bringing guys in like Eric Armstead. You look at the Rams, Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller, OBJ, and then you go back to the Eagles again. That's when they brought in A.J. Brown. That's when they made the Super Bowl. So when you look at Brad, do you think it's time to make win now moves? Because even with draft picks, you're seeing Giovanni Manuz, Sione Vaki, and there's guys that, they might not be the best, but they're guys that can contribute year one. Do you think there needs to be a kind of a flip of the switch here with Brad Holmes?
It's a good question. I'm going to answer a question you didn't ask, which is I don't think he'll do that. Whether he should or not is the question you asked. Whether I think he will, the answer is no. I don't think he will. I think he reiterated it today. They don't think it's time to think that the window is closing and you got to do something now. And they want to continue to have this sustained success. And that's through drafting and not necessarily wasting those draft picks on a 1 or 2 year move. But you laid out a compelling argument there, right? The reality of the situation is when you look at some of the extensions that they've made for guys that they've drafted already, you signed 3 big extensions last offseason. It's not going to hurt you much last year. It's not going to hurt you much this year, but all those cap hits take a huge jump in 2026. And that when people talk about a window closing or at least narrowing, that's what they're talking about is you won't have the cap space to make big splashes next year. You do have a relative amount of cap space this year. So I think there is a case to be made to make a big play like that. I haven't dug into the pool of free agency quite yet. I know a lot of people are already trying to get the Max Crosby train over here. That, would be a pretty expensive move. I think his cap hits are in the 20 millions or salaries are in the 20-ish millions for the next 2 years. Cause I did take a peek there just in case. But yeah, I mean, in general, I would rather have as many bites at the apple rather than going all in for 1 year, because you saw what happened with the Lions this year. They were the best regular season team in football, in my opinion, and they go one and done. That's kind of the nature of playoff football. You have one down day and it's over. Single elimination playoffs, you're not always going to get the best team to win the Super Bowl. So to me, I'm kind of more aligned with Brad Holm thinks, which is just, hey, let's continue to keep building, keep this thing afloat. It might not be, we might not be making these huge, crazy moves to get this one guy in. But we have a good, strong roster from 1 to 53 and really 1 to 69 if you include the practice squad. And so we saw the importance of building that depth. If you go out and get a major player, who knows if he's going to stay healthy, and even if he does, you might not have the resources to build out the depth that they kind of had this year that allowed them to stay afloat as long as they did. And I think that gets you as many chances to stay in the playoffs, get in the playoffs year after year after year. And that's, to me, how you win a Super Bowl is you just give yourself as many chances as possible to get into the postseason. And I know you look at a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're like, let's just not be that where we're making it every year, but we're not serious contenders. I think the Lions are doing a better job maintaining it. I think they're doing a better job drafting, which is key to kind of that sustained success. So I'm more of the Brad Holmes ilk of like, we don't have to throw all of our chips in now because we trust our process. We trust our drafting. We trust continuing to reload our young players on the roster, but it won't be easy.
Yeah, well, Ben Johnson dropped an absolute bomb this week on Lions fans. Went to the Chicago Bears, just threw up the middle fingers and left. Respect him, though. Respect him. You know what he tried doing, though? Pulling Hank Fraley, but per source, a dentist, he will not be leaving. So what do you make of this OC job? Tanner Engstrand is the guy that I think all signs would kind of point to him. It's kind of similar. Ben was the pass game coordinator and then got promoted. I'm assuming Tanner will kind of go through that route. They haven't interviewed anyone like outside the organization. What's your kind of intel on that? Do you think it's going to be kind of a Tanner, Hank Fraley, Scotty Montgomery race? And out of the three, which way would you lean? Just personal opinion.
Yeah, I think you're barking up the right tree there. I think everything that Dan said earlier this week about their coordinator search really pointed to me that they were going to do an internal hire on the offensive side of the ball. It's a matter of having that relationship with Goff. It's a matter of the terminology wanting to be the same. Basically wanting to run the exact same offense with maybe just a little tweak here or there. And to me, there's no better candidate for that than your passing game coordinator in Tanner Engstrand. I think you hit it on the nail. He's kind of my leading candidate if I had to put money on it, which I wouldn't ever recommend doing. I would pick Tanner as the guy who I think is going to eventually get that job. One thing to note too is that the Lions are not going to be announcing their interviews like some other coaches do or some other teams do. I think most teams only do that for head coach and GM. I don't expect the Lions to announce any interviews that they're completing. So a lot of that process might be happening behind the scenes. We've seen it before in these past 4 years with those guys. Sometimes it's just an announcement. It's like, oh, we didn't hear anything about these interviews and the Lions just announced their new offensive coordinator. So, even though it might not seem like the Lions are doing a lot behind the scenes, obviously we got the Larry Foote report, but there might be reports out there that come out that no one hears about until they're hired. So they work in the shadows there. So just keep an eye out.
Yep.
I might have to start doing some of those like jet finders and see like Dennis Allen's jets or something. Or
flight tracker, exactly.
Yeah, I might start doing that work for the people of Detroit. All right, I got a random question for you here, Jeremy, but I've been thinking about this week. And Brad actually, I don't know who it was that asked him the question today about essentially Carlton or not even him, but Giovanni Manu, Jeff's guy, and then also Christian Mahogany. I want to ask you your thought process on the Mahogany thing, because I've been thinking about it all week. A lot of people obviously are on the side that Graham Glasgow didn't play that great, and then Kevin Zeitler, obviously, you need to re-sign him, but it sounded like today Dan or Brad is like, yeah, we want to get a deal done with him. Where do you stand on like the position you move into next year with Mahogany? Because it felt like he's played at a level to really, hey, he could definitely be a starting on this offensive line. He's the younger guy, and you can keep developing him and getting him in that role. Do you think they kind of look at that with Graham and say, we might just go with the younger guy, even though he has 2 years left on his deal? It still feels like maybe, is that an opportunity for Mahogany to take over that position?
I think it'll be a competition next year. I really do. I don't think it's important to cut Graham Glasgow. In fact, I don't think it's financially responsible to cut Graham going into this year. let's not forget, he is an absolute asset as a backup, right? He can be Frank's backup. He can be a guard backup. Like that is an important position to have. And so I think they probably go into next year, assuming they do something with the other side, whether it's re-signing Zeitler, which would be my preference, or maybe you draft a guy in the second or third or fourth round, or maybe you get someone else in free agency. I think they would be wise to make that a competition between Mahogany and Glasgow, but not just throw out the loser of that, right? I think you want depth there. Offensive linemen I think the Lions were actually pretty fortunate this year with their offensive line health, but you want that depth there. And yeah, I think you have to just remember that Graham is going to be an asset whether he's a starter or not. And I think he was pretty banged up this year, even though not necessarily in the injury report. I know he was banged up for a fact in the final game on Saturday. So probably wasn't his best year. It's also important to remember that he played right last year and was really, really good at right guard last year. And then they moved him to left guard this year, which he wasn't as good at. So maybe he wasn't at his best position, which is something else to consider. Like, maybe if Zeitler retires or doesn't want to come back, maybe Graham's at right and Mahogany's at left. Graham gives you a ton of options. So I would not throw out his contract just because of the down year that he had this year, because it's easy to forget how good he was the year before.
I did say earlier this week, I had mentioned like last year with Jonah Jackson, and he was like your sixth man. Like he was like your Jamal Crawford or Lou Will. And it was like anytime someone went down, it was Graham that stepped up, to where I thought it was like an asset. If you do throw Mahogany in there next year at left or right, wherever you want, Graham is like, if knock on wood, Frank goes down for a bit or someone, that's like, I felt like that was a safer bet in my opinion. I know Graham's probably wants to start in that, but having him up there to be able to play center and all move around over Mahogany feels like an advantage in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt.
And kind of we just touched on the offensive coordinator and how it could look different. And I want to get more specific with it, Jeremy. When you look at no Ben Johnson now, what are like you're confident, concerned? What's your outlook on Jared Goff next year now with no Ben Johnson?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a wait and see situation. I'm of the belief that Ben Johnson had a major role in how successful that offense was, not just in terms of his play design or play calling or the trick plays and things like that. But if you ask anyone in that building, how detail oriented he was, how specific he was in terms of route running. I mean, with every position on the field too, how the tight ends are running their routes, how they're blocking, where your arms are as a defensive lineman or offensive lineman, quarterback. Like, he is so detailed on the mechanics of how every position works that you're going to miss that as a teacher for the young guys that are coming in. But I did think it was really interesting what Ben Johnson said about the Lions offense moving forward. And this was, I think, after his press conference when he was just meeting with the local media separately. He said, like, that is a self-powering engine now. Like, they've gotten everything they needed from me. They're going to be fine. And it's a really nice thing of Ben Johnson to say. And I do believe it to some extent, because the talent is there, right? And it isn't a young unit anymore. The wide receivers are starting to grow up. Jared Goff is a veteran. The offensive line is filled with veterans. You have a tight end who's entering year 3, a running back who's going to be entering year 3. You've got Dave Montgomery. It's a group that should know the ins and outs of this offense, even with a new offensive coordinator. So it does feel like they should be fine and good. And they've got 6 All-Pros on that side of the ball. So they've got the talent. But I think it would be natural to expect at least a little bit of a step back. This was the number 1 offense in football. I think maybe there'd be natural regression even if Ben Johnson was still here. But I have a lot of respect for what Ben Johnson did for this offense. So, I would not be surprised to see it take a step back. Do I still think it's going to be a top 10 offense that could be a top 5 offense? Absolutely.
There you have it, Jeremy. We appreciate you. Although the season ended quite terribly, you guys are crushing it. So we appreciate it. And honestly, by the way, you never owe us. We love you. You keep up the great work, my friend. Keep up the great work.
Hey, you guys keep killing it too.
There you go. Jeremy.
Appreciate you, Jeremy.
Check him out. Follow him on Twitter as well, Detroit Online. But we hold on, let me get this all fixed though. We're on a whack. All right.
In the middle of the show,
We got hacked for a second.
I think we did. I've never seen that happen on our platform.
Because Jeremy's camera went out for like 2 seconds, or was it just on
mine? Mine did too. My camera went out on my end.
Mine did too. Something's going on.
Maybe Klotzy's over there trying to plan something. I got my eyes on you over there, Klotzy. Calvin Shepherd guy.
Talking to. Why don't you
I know, but earlier, I mean, you'll do anything to get Calvin Shepherd that job. So maybe something's happening over there.
He's more deserving. Promote your own assistant before you promote one from another team.
Imagine Calvin Shepherd.
Neither of them have been at DC.
Starts yelling. Klotzy brings Calvin Shepherd on without us knowing.
Yeah,
I've been 3 years on that take. 3 years. Now it's on the precipice. Whatever that word might be.
Wow.
Dennis Allen.
No,
that's Dennis Allen.
Hey, I appreciate you trying there.
It's a list. Dennis Allen. You somehow finagle Jim Schwartz away from the Browns, or you promote Calvin Shepherd. Robert Saleh too, but he's going to the Niners.
Yep.
He tried to throw a big word out there to really get Calvin Shepherd.
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
I respect
you got the word I was trying to say.
You
right?
You got it. You got it. You got it.
Now.
Let's
one of those
heating up.
One of those big syllable words.
Jesus. All right. Let's bring in our guy here, man. Shout out to Anthony. Honestly, first time he's joining the program, dude. He's awesome. He does. Guy's a jack of many trades. I mean, WJR, AB Spin on Sports, BCSN Sports.
Shout out.
I mean, he does stuff for Michigan, the Lions. I mean, you guys have probably seen him down there. Also, to my knowledge, I'm learning recently, golf prodigy, I might add. Let's bring the man in. Our Italian brother, Anthony. Anthony, what's going on, my man?
Hi, Zon. We're on the precipice right now. That's what it is. What's going on, fellas? Thanks for having me, guys.
There you go, Anthony. No, we appreciate you for joining, man. And this whole show we've been kind of talking about what's going on. Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Lions brought in Casey Rogers today, and I know from what I've seen. All right, very highly regarded. Tara Williams, that sucks. I mean, the whole staff is just leaving at this point. So get used to being a good team. What do you make of the Casey Rogers hire kind of coming in and as they kind of assemble this defensive side of the ball? What'd you make of that hire, Casey Rogers?
You know what? I like it. And I think we all kind of have to buy into liking it because I think the biggest piece of this puzzle is getting 97 back on the field, right? It's about getting Aiden Hutchinson. And Brad Holmes talked about it earlier. By the way, shout out to my guy, Jeremy Risman. I mean, that guy is everywhere. Love his work. The guys are a pride of Detroit, man. It's great tuning in and hearing his voice as always. And, I think that when it comes to coaching this defensive line, right, what bodies do you have available? That's really what it came down to. And Brad Holmes earlier today in his press conference talking about, I don't know too many teams that have a 6th, 7th, and 8th guy, right, and trying to work to pick up a Zadarius Smith. The numbers from Tampa, is it X's and O's or is it like the Jimmies and the Joes, right? You have Vita Vea in the middle. What will he be able to do if there is an opportunity to bring Zadarius and try to rework some things there? You get Aiden Hutchinson back from injury. How long does Aleem McNeil take? Is that an area that they want to address in free agency? Is that an area that they want to try to address this offseason via trade? Will it be in the draft, right? I mean, there's so many questions there, but I think at the end of the day, when you look at how basically well Tampa Bay has played against the run, I think it's a pretty good sign. I do think losing Terrell Williams I think it's a loss, and I think that this is something that Detroit fans, I get the Ben Johnson thing, why people are a little bit upset, right? It's like if your girlfriend left you and then you find out you go like 2 blocks down the road and she's down the road with a new guy, and it's like that's the new guy. Like you could have went and got a new guy
we would have
in
a
Jacksonville. Right. Exactly. Now you got to drive around and see her on the, walking their dog together or something like that. So I understand that one. I think a majority of people are really happy for Aaron Glenn. The Jets are the team that drafted him. And you start to lose Terrell Williams. What do we do with Hank Fraley? I mean, there's so many questions here to be answered. And are those guys going to want some of the, the familiar faces? I heard you guys talking about, Calvin Shepherd. Is that a good choice right there? What about on the offensive side? Would it be Hank? Would it be Tanner? A lot of names out there kind of circulating. Would it be Randall L? I mean, there's so many unknowns right now, and it's such a foreign position for our fan base to be in that, man, I don't know. It's fun. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. Hey, Anthony, it's good to have you on the show. Finally, I'm pumped up to get you on. I'm going to go off the track here a little bit. I'm not going to talk to coaches, nothing. There's a player, obviously, has got the chance, Jared Goff, all season long. I've decided I'm going to go on a little tangent, or not a tangent, but I'm going on a road this offseason to figure out if everyone's bought in on Jared Goff going forward. Yesterday, Trey Wingo said, yes, he can win a Super Bowl in Detroit. John Macaroon said, yes. I want to get your thoughts on the Jared Goff stuff. We're 2 years in. I know last year, the 17-point lead, it was not his fault at all. But then you see in this big time playoff game at home, the turnovers. I am all in on Jared Goff, but I know there's like half the fan base right now that's like still on the edge, and they're ready to say, let's move on. What are your thoughts on Jared Goff, the Super Bowl? Can he get that done in Detroit? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that, getting to the Super Bowl is going to be a challenge, right? All in itself. So that's like the first hump that we have to cross. Like, are we going to be able to retool this team and get them back to where they were? Like, can we expect them to win 15 games again? I would say no. Even after last year's 12-5 season, you start playing the schedule game at the beginning of the year and you're like, okay, can you reach 13? That's kind of crazy. 15 wins is like Kansas City Chiefs territory. The way that I look at the NFL, I think that you have 12 teams, basically, give or take. You got about a third of the league that has their quarterback situation figured out, right? And Detroit is one of those teams. You got half a third of the league that's sitting there in the middle. It's like, hey, we got a guy that's serviceable. Maybe we get lucky, flash in the pan type of deal. We could make a little bit of a run. And then the back third of the league is trying to figure out who is their next guy going to be. I think Jared Goff has looked good in some of the bigger games. He's also looked bad in some of the bigger games too. So I understand why fans might want to question his ability. The good thing is that he has that experience, right? He's made it to that game before, albeit with the Rams and not with the Lions. You get to the NFC title game last year, you get bounced, and unfortunately just a bad day to have a bad day. And you look at that game that took place last Saturday, most people, I'm still not over it. I know that most fans won't be over it. And I don't know what the point, at what point will we ever get over that? Because that's a historical loss right there. You get the 1 seed, the franchise's best season they've ever had. And then you end up losing to the Washington Commanders, which Jaden Daniels as a rookie was the superior quarterback. But we had a game like that earlier in the year in Houston, but our defense was able to kind of bail us out there, right? They got some huge key big time stops. They got some turnovers. They got some positive things working. Jaden Daniels just carved us up. And then really not a whole lot that we can do about that. All things considered, we look at the defensive personnel. Do I think Jared can do it? I do. But I also believe that Jared's one of those guys, like most people, you got to have good people around you. And I know that a lot of people hear that and they take it negatively. Like, find me a successful business person that doesn't have a good team around them. It's like, you couldn't get to this position without knowing so-and-so. Well, how do you think so-and-so got in that position? They knew somebody, right? That's what it takes. Like, you have to surround yourself with good people, like-minded people in order for your business to be successful. I think we have a good offense. Like, I know we have a good offense. The numbers tell you that we have a good offense. And it doesn't matter if he throws 30-yard bombs, to Jamo, or if he just dinks and dunks his way down the field. They can put up a lot of points. And we crossed that 30-point mark a lot this year. If the defense is healthy in the back half of the season, I think we're still playing.
You crossed the 30-point mark on Saturday. That was the disappointing part too about it. I just, last question with the Jared Goff stuff. Hey, you do a lot of events in Detroit. I'm sure you've heard the Jared Goff chants a lot. Oh, yeah. We've had the conversation on our show the last week, and Klotz here has been a big, probably voice.
Cut it out.
Voice.
It's run its course. We don't.
That's what I want to ask. I want to ask Anthony, are you in on it still? Like, when you go to these events and you're around the city, are you going to be like, hey, cut it out. Let's end this until we go back next year and get a Super Bowl? Or are you like, hey, just keep it going?
Who would have thought, like, Michigan versus Northwestern inside Chrysler Center what day of the week was that? Sunday?
That's crazy.
You hear Jared Goff. You hear it at Red Wings games, and the Wings are playing right now at home inside Little Caesars. I'm sure. I don't know if anybody's saying it right now because I think it's still. I think the wound is still fresh. The turnovers, like the loss. That's the thing. That's where I think it stops. It might pop up again at training camp, but I don't think, because when the Jared Goff chant, really, was it about Jared or was it about Detroit sports? Was it about redemption? Was it about a second chance? Was it more than just the individual name? Like, I watch Red Wings fans lose their mind and come up with, like, Dylan Larkin chants. And chant whatever you want. What do I care? As long as it's supportive for our team and it makes the other team miserable, that's great. I love that. But I feel like the Jared Goff chant was more of a Detroit redemption story chant. I think we've probably reached the point where it will organically phase itself out.
As it should. As it should. Anthony, great having you on the show. I don't know if you remember, but we worked with each other for a brief spin at BCSN. I was running the ticker on Friday nights, but great having you on the show. Question. So we just talked about quarterback Jared Goff. What helps Jared Goff out the most? The run game. When you look at Jahmyr Gibbs, the thing that frustrated me more than anything with that playoff game was Jahmyr Gibbs was cooking in that first half. You really didn't hear anything from Jahmyr in that second half. Do you think going forward they should lean into the run game and not take David Montgomery out of the picture, but lean a little bit more heavily Jahmyr going forward, just because honestly, he's the best player they have on offense. And that's not a shot at anybody else. It's how good Jahmyr Gibbs is.
Yeah, I mean, he is. I love that when Brad Holmes talks about positional value and they had the shirts printed out or whatever. Like it was awesome because they saw something. And I was at the draft party there inside Ford Field. He gets drafted and people like gasped, like they were like, "Who or what? What are we doing?" Like there was a lot of that, right? Because we had traded back, and it's like, "Oh my goodness, who are we going to get?" Right? And so I look at Jahmyr Gibbs, and what you saw from him when Monty was out was the ability for him to be an every down back, a guy that you could basically feed like Saquon, even though they're not built the same way. You could still get crazy amounts of production, not only in the run game, but in the pass game as well. He's a football player. He will block. He's okay in protection. I like his attitude. He gets a 15-yard gain. You don't really see a whole lot. He might dance in the end zone, but outside of that, he just kind of goes about his business. I think that the running back by committee, and they've already financially committed to David Montgomery, I think we'll see more of a lean towards Jahmyr as far as total volume of touches, whether it's straight carries, or receptions out of the backfield. But I definitely think that when Montgomery was out, Jahmyr Gibbs shined, and that light was bright. He knew it was going to be on him. This team knew it was going to be on him, and he handled it all so well and gave us such great production that I do think that, okay, we can still have a 1-2 punch. You still want to be multiple back there. You still have to have depth. In the event of an emergency, you got to break the glass. But Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, they sold us on he could be Alvin Kamara. Check the box. I mean, every time they put out a stat from the PR department, the only other guy that is comparable to in the franchise is the dude that wore number 20, and he turned out to be okay. So I'm really happy with Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think that this will be from a running back room. If you had to anoint one or the other, it's 26 for sure.
And real quick follow up question with that, because it's a debate that we always have on this show. Do you re-sign Jahmyr Gibbs after his rookie year is up? Because Jeff, he's on the train. If you get a rookie running back, run him into the ground.
Okay, hold on,
Jeff. That is your quote word for word. He says
it's an interesting
draft
thought
a new running
Jeff.
back.
I don't.
Me and Klotz are on
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Jeff,
hold on.
Ties up. What happened? I thought we were family. What's going on here?
Hey, trust circle. Time out. I am again. I'm not. I don't believe.
He's shook up right
in
now.
Drafting running backs in the first round. I don't think it's a smart thing to do. Although Jahmyr Gibbs is a great player, when you're looking at positional value, I know positional value people hate, but guys are going to re-sign. Like there is a list of guys I'm bringing back. No offense. Than Jahmyr Gibbs, and I love Jahmyr.
That is insane.
But hold on. But Jahmyr Gibbs is great. When you have the best offensive line in football, and come on, you're looking around the league. Look at some of the great.
He's
running
a
backs.
top three running back in the NFL.
Look at all the top running backs. Not everyone is a top number 1 overall draft pick. I mean, there's guys coming out every year that are great from second, third rounds. Bucky Irving is doing fine with the Buccaneers, and he was a second, third round pick. That's where I'm at.
When you have a top 3 product.
Hold on. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is great, but by year 5. With how many carries and touches he'll have to give him money. I've seen this story already. I've seen it with Ezekiel Elliott with the Cowboys. We've seen it with other running backs as well in the league. I mean, this is not a wild.
You know what? Hey, Anthony, he's right. Saquon Barkley in his second, third contract just isn't the same.
Alvin Kamara, terrible. Derrick Henry, terrible.
What is interested to see if Anthony, are you signing Gibbs?
Oh yeah. I mean, the thing about it is I understand what Jeff is saying, but I just think Jahmyr Gibbs is that level of special that he's almost undeniable. I mean, if he stays healthy, there's not a question in my mind that he is one of those. And I mean, I think that perhaps maybe the front office believes this as well, because you think Amon-Ra, who you already got under contract, you redid that. That was great. Sign him early, pay him early. Lomas Brown talks about this all the time. When guys see that, hey, we'll go in early and we'll re-sign you because of your production. You get that raise. That speaks volumes to the locker room because everybody knows if I take care of my business, this group is going to take care of me. So you have Amon-Ra, you have Panay, you have Sam Laporta, who's going to be coming down the pipeline. You have Jahmyr Gibbs. Jameson Williams is a giant question mark. Kirby and Brian Branch, I think, is a no-brainer. You keep those two together for as long as physically possible. Jack Campbell, the strides that he made. Obviously, Aiden's going to command a ton of money. And then, you get into this year's class with, what did we really get from Rake? Not a lot. Terrion Arnold, really tough ask of a rookie at that position to play as many man-to-man coverage snaps and press man snaps that he played more than anybody else in the league. And once he, turned his head around after the first few weeks, things did get a little bit better. But for me, on the contract side of things, I would, based on what we've seen right now, barring no injury and the production is relatively similar to what we have. Yeah. And that's another reason why I think you re-signed Montgomery, because in the event of you want to lighten the load a little bit, there is a game that might be a little bit out of hand. They kept Craig Reynolds because I think that Jahmyr Gibbs isn't the Ezekiel Elliott personality. I think Gibbs is more along the lines of what we got with Amon-Ra St. Brown, where it doesn't matter if you pay him $1, $1 million, or $100 million, you're going to get the same sort of attitude and effort out of that guy, and that's what I think we get with Jahmyr Gibbs. So yes, long answer.
Yeah. Hey, I thought there's like an unwritten rule here. You just threw your co-host under the bus here, Klotzy. What are we doing?
We've had this conversation numerous times on the show.
We have. Hey, I believe it.
I understand.
You did throw you out to the wolves.
It sounds, but it's one of those takes. Anthony, you give a ton of takes out daily. You understand. It's one of those takes where it's like when you say it out loud, it's something you believe in. You're like, oh, that comes off kind of sick. But that's just what I believe in. All right,
I think the idea,
but it's true.
Yeah. The idea, I think the thought process of it, of that whole thing, Jeff, is right. I just think when you look at, when you have a top 3 player at that position, that your whole take, everything, you throw it out the window. And you're like, hey, that doesn't really matter at this point because you do have a top 3 running back in the NFL. You're not wrong. If it was a first-round draft pick and he's a top 10 running back and he's outside of the top 5, he's 5 to 10, then maybe. But top 3, where he's going to be an offensive player of the year at some point in his career, it's like you can't let that guy walk.
Well, let me
look at the Giants. They let Saquon walk. They're probably looking back and like, man, that was the worst decision we've made.
And
you could have Saquon. You could have Saquon. You could have traded up and got Jaden Daniels, and you could have had Jaden Daniels and Saquon Barkley still there. How did that work out for you? Let me be a GM.
At least you wouldn't be paying your quarterback. But we don't got to get down that alley. You know what, Anthony? I'll ask you this: the NFC North, Ben Johnson, the new head coach of the Chicago Bears. In my opinion, this is how I've kind of translated this week personally. I'd like your opinion on this. I think Lions fans have every right to be frustrated because of the team he chose. I think that is fair, right? It's the Chicago Bears, FTB. You hate where he went. But the thing where people lost me, Anthony, and I know you've heard this as well, where people try and discredit the job he did in Detroit. Now, all of a sudden, Dan Campbell's the mastermind. Ben is like his little, it's like, in elementary school, you have like a big buddy. It's like, Ben Johnson's or Dan Campbell's like his big buddy. Like Ben Johnson has a lot to do with this offense being as good as it is. What do you make of the job he took and kind of the NFC North now with all these coaches? And it's already the best division in football. And now you got Ben Johnson with the Bears. What do you make of that narrative kind of, throwing on Ben Johnson? I get it's the Bears, but the extra stuff, I've heard he's going to be Adam Gase. What are we doing? What's your
looks like him? He looks like Adam Gase.
It's so interesting. There was not to drop a philosophy quote on you here, and I forget who said it, so I should probably look this up before I open my mouth. But whatever. It's late.
Yeah.
A wise man will adjust himself to the truth, right? A fool will try to adjust the truth to himself. And I think that anybody who believes that Ben Johnson, anybody who tries to discredit what he did here in Detroit is the latter of the two. His impact on this team. Remember that this offense didn't necessarily look like this with Anthony Lynn. Things were a little bit different there. That's one thing that gives me confidence in Dan Campbell. It's like, okay, I made a bad choice. I let a guy go. I have an ability to be able to find a guy that we want that's going to take this thing to the next level. And as a good leader, you're just going to let people do their job, right? And that's really what that's really what leadership is about, right? You try to find the best possible people in the best possible positions, and then you let them do their jobs. This is really why it works with Sheila Ford Ham, right? Because you find football people, you just let them do their job. You're not Jerry Jones out there trying to pretend to be a GM. Rod Wood has caught in flack for so many years. He handles the business side of the organization, not the football side. We found football-minded people that are good at identifying talent, whether that's on the field or on the sideline. I think the fact that he goes to the Bears, people are just sour about that. The fact that we have to see him twice. I thought that Amon-Ra's story where he shared the dialogue that they had, that, a lot of F-bombs flying, but it felt like it was all in good fun. It feels like it'll be healthy competition. The fact that he pandered immediately to the Bears organization and talked about beating Matt LaFleur twice, the fact that he quoted Dan Campbell multiple times, I'm like, yeah, that's who he's been around. So that's what I would expect. I like the Bears for him because even though I'm not a big fan of their quarterback and they have to address the offensive line, he knows that that's probably what they'll do with their first, 18 picks over the next couple of drafts. However, wide receivers, they got a tight end, they got a running back he's familiar with, a quarterback in place, and a pretty good defense. The last thing you wanted to do if you were Ben Johnson is, one, turn down a $10 million raise or whatever it was at $13 million over, per year for 5 years. Like, we're all going to the Bears for that. The crunch time will be live from the Windy City, on the Gold Coast for $13 million. I'll take all this Detroit garb down for $13 million. Come on. What are we talking about? But the division is going to be tough. Matt LaFleur is a good coach. I'm not all the way sold on Jordan Love, though. So I will still rest there. I think Minnesota is the biggest question mark. And Kevin O'Connell getting that NFL 101 whatever award, Coach of the Year, get that out of here. Like, what? Are you kidding me? The guy put up 3 field goals in the most important game of the season against the guy that should have won on the other side of the field, who already beat you at your place. Like, that was nuts to me. And they got a quarterback issue. Like, Sam Darnold went from, the chat on the 4-letter network was, do you trade Sam Darnold or trade JJ McCarthy because he'd be the number 1 quarterback in the class, and then you re-sign Sam Darnold? All of a sudden Sam Darnold turns into a pumpkin, and it's like, well, you got to ship him off and promote JJ. They don't know what to do over there. They've got weapons. They'll be tough. The division is strong. Well, at least we thought it was, but we've got an all NFC East NFC title game. So this kind of is it is what it is there. They were good all season. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. Yes, Lions fans are going to be mad. We're still in the 5 stages of grief, right? And anger is one of them. So let's get angry. It's fine. Vent it out. Throw all the trash takes you can on Twitter, whatever makes you feel good and gets people riled up, and let those people have at it on the internet. But because, week number 1 next year, everybody's going to be in blue and silver. They're going to pack Ford Field. We got a tough schedule. And they're going to have to go out, just like Brad Holmes said. Like, we have to get to work. You can't mope your way to getting healthier. You can't feel sorry for yourself and win more football games. You got to get back to work.
All right, Anthony. Yeah, you pumped me up there. I'm gonna move away from the Lions here now. This is a question that we've talked about on our show a bunch. Out of the 3 teams, I see the Pistons behind you. I see the Pistons poster there. I see a Red Wings to the other side. I don't see a Tigers. Hey, that's okay though. I want to ask you this question, though. Out of the Detroit teams outside of the Detroit Lions, who's the next team out of those 3 to go make a championship run? If you had to pick one out of the Pistons, Red Wings, and Tigers, who do you think's the next team up to go win a championship for the city of Detroit? Or the closest to it?
Yeah, I think closest to Tiger stuff's over in that corner.
Had to make sure. By the way,
just so you know, this flower thing here, that when they give you those the lays when you go to a luau and it's like a plastic thing, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's actually a real lay from Panay Sewell. So that's why that's hanging up there behind me. That's from Panay. But yeah, it's like real leaves too. I don't know.
I need one.
I don't know what happens if they catch on fire, but who knows?
I'm gonna put that thing on my newborn. Hopefully, he becomes
I'll load it to you. Take some photos. I honestly think that the ones closest to actually making a legitimate championship run, I got to say the Pistons right now, and I know they're hot. And Cade Cunningham should be an all-star starter, only because, and I'll say it like this: the Red Wings in the roster size is too many people. They got too many holes to fill. They're fighting for a wild card. They're fighting tooth and nail. That's a lot. They got to get Kosa up. They got to get more blue liners. Like, it's good to see Edvinson playing the way that he is. And you bring up Elmer the Fudd. That's cool. But we need more bodies. Like, our 3rd and 4th line, Marco Casper's been sensational this year. I'm really excited about Nate Danielson. But Tigers, that was a flash in the pan. Like, if at some point somebody's going to have to spend some money and Jack Flaherty talking about he wanted to, be very interested after pitching games 1 and 5 maybe for the Dodgers for a championship run. He'd be interested in coming back to Detroit. Like, that's cool. I'm all in on that. But once again, it's a larger roster. So if you look for a team that could make a move and get towards a conference championship game, maybe sneak into the NBA Finals, I think just because of overall roster size and individual impact being exponential in comparison to the other teams, I'm going to go with basketball and go with the Pistons because, damn, they feel close, right? We added some legitimate NBA shooters. We stopped putting Isaiah. This idea that Beef Stew, let me just go nuts here real quick. The idea that you were going to take Isaiah Stewart, square peg, round hole, and you were going to say, we're going to make him a stretch four. People are like, yeah, it'd be like Draymond. Last time I checked, nobody guards Draymond outside the three-point line. So if that is your example, let's make Beef Stew like Draymond, then I got to question like how you even drove to work, right? That's number one. Who gave you a license to drive a motor vehicle? Number two, JB Bickerstaff comes in, reignites the team, and finds that Beef Stew is great for exactly what they drafted him for. Grant said it on the broadcast last night. It's the grit and grind. It's the hustle plays. It's, 17 to 25 minutes on a given night, depending on foul trouble, where he's going to protect the rim. He's going to get rebounds, going to dive on the floor. He's going to set good screens. And damn it, if LeBron James cuts his face, he's going to chase him around the arena and go rogue. They're going to send a SWAT team after him to go get him. Like, that's the Beef Stew that we needed. Not whatever in God's green earth everybody was talking about wanting him to be last year and 2 years ago. That was driving me insane. I feel better. Thanks.
Spot up shooter. Had to get that out.
They want to treat him like he's Malik Beasley. Like, what's wrong with you?
No lies detected there. No lies detected.
Kind of carrying the Pistons conversation on, Anthony. When you look at the Eastern Conference All-Star teams that were announced today, and you see that Cade Cunningham is not a starter but a reserve after the season that he's having, what is your reaction to that?
Yeah, okay. I mean, everything in steps, everything in phases, right? So if we look at it from that perspective, he's in the game. I love the fact that the NBA and the Pistons had him on Inside the NBA on TNT. Like, finally, are we going to try to market a star who isn't named LeBron James? Are we finally going to showcase some other guys that aren't Victor Wembanyama? Like, can we finally take a look at some of the other great young players, the Paolo Bancheros, the Franz Wagners, the Cade Cunninghams, can the SGAs of the world? Can we please take a look at some of these other guys? And if your starting lineup for the East are Giannis, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, Cat and Jalen Brunson, it's New York. Sure. I guess whatever. The fact that, if Cade's going to be a reserve, I'm happy with that because everything's got to be gradual, right? He's made it to the all-star level. Now can he elevate himself to that superstar level? I think he has the ability, and I like the demonstrative nature of him this year on the court. Like, he splits the defense in Houston, drives the lane, dunks on all of them, and then afterwards yelling at the top of his lungs that I had dunked on all of you fine gentlemen here. All of you gentlemen, right?
All four of them.
He says that, and it's like, yeah, like you look at the way JB handles himself on the sidelines, and I feel a lot like, with the Lions kind of take on the mantra and the attitude and the spirit of Dan Campbell. I feel like this Pistons team's taking on that attitude and that demeanor of JB Bickerstaff, and I think it's a massive, massive win for this franchise. So if Cade's a reserve, I'm good with it. He didn't have to be a starter in my book. He just had to get past that velvet rope where, in NBA circles, they get all weird about that stuff. Just get into the club. Once you're in, you can dance with whoever you want.
Yeah. Well said. Anthony, dude, you're spitting today. I love opinionated people, and I know you got a crap ton of opinions. So I appreciate you for that. You can follow Anthony on X, Twitter. I call it Twitter at AC Bellino. Yeah, Detroit Lions host, like BC. It's just like the guy does so much. All right, you'll catch him everywhere. Anthony, we appreciate you, my man. By the way, quick note from Anthony right here. We started Crunch Time. One of the first to reach out. He's been supporting the fellas ever since.
Shout out.
Oh, he makes his appearance. Anthony, you're the man, dude.
Hey, look, we still got to get dinner. We got to break some bread, as the big fella Lomas Brown would say. We got to break some bread, man. I'm all in on Crunch Time, man. I love what you guys do. I love watching, man. So thanks for the invite. Glad we could make it happen.
There you go.
We're gonna make that dinner happen soon. That dinner's gonna happen very soon.
Let's go. Bring all three of you.
Let's do it. That's what I like to do right there. There you go. Anthony Bellino. Anthony, we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
See you, fellas.
All right.
Appreciate
there
it,
you go. Yeah, he is. I love it. What a great guy, man.
What a great week of guests, fellas. Great week.
Yeah.
Great week.
Yeah. Oh, it was.
Got to follow it up tomorrow. You know, we got to just keep the momentum rolling here, boys. That was fun. Anthony's a legend.
Are we gonna just gonna gloss over the fact that Lukas Klotz just tried? I mean,
he did. You were standing on the curb. We were in downtown Detroit. We were downtown Detroit. The Z line or whatever they call it was moving, and he just boom right in the back, kicked you right in front of the train.
No. I you know how we're high on accountability over here, correct? We talk about it all the time.
I did say that.
That was a perfect time to hold Jeff accountable. That's all it was. He makes these blasphemous remarks about Jahmyr Gibbs. The pick that
just came out of nowhere, though. You could have just asked the question. You just it
popped in my head. I was like, you know what? I want to get another perspective on this. Maybe there's another wise guy like Jeff
has the worst take in the world.
Go get Brian Robinson in the second round. He'll be fine. He'll replace Jahmyr Gibbs.
The way you set it up, though. The way you set it up, like this man wants to run Jahmyr into the ground.
Do you not say that? Do you not say that?
I mean, I did, but it was out of.
You do. I can pull it out of emotion. You said it this morning, and that's why I asked that question.
Oh man,
never re-signing him.
I mean, it's.
Accountability was just.
It's what I believe. It's what I believe.
If I had a take, then I said, and it was brought up.
Can I slow us down here real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. We're gonna go to. I want to get to Brad Holmes in a little bit, but
I thought you were gonna say a break. Oh, you want to do Brad Holmes? I'm saying, dude, I've been trying to do a segment for 4 days, and it's getting pushed back. And I'm not pushing this segment back any longer.
I'm making this up, bro.
I know. I guess Brad Holmes did speak today, but we did get a lot of. We had Jeremy and Anthony. We all talked about it. I mean, if you guys want to do Brad Holmes,
no. Go ahead. Let's do it. Come on, let's go, bro. Let's do it.
Can we get some music with it? Can we get some music?
You know what?
Shout out Flannel. Shout out Flannel too, by the way.
Yeah,
awesome
shout out
downtown
Flannel,
last weekend.
Made him the.
It was great seeing Flannel. Great seeing Flannel.
Do it.
Come on now.
Let me see this. Hold on.
All right, boys.
Are you good, Booner?
All right, let's hit this or that. We usually do this or that when it comes to player props in the games. Yeah. I thought of this. I was like, how can we keep this segment going throughout the offseason? I made a this or that offseason edition for the boys. Detroit Lions. Are you guys ready for this one?
Oh, I'm ready.
I'm excited for this one, Boone. Come on.
All right. First one here. And this is who you want to stay with the Detroit Lions, this first one. Would you rather have
a player?
It's going to be players, it's going to be everything. Would you rather have hey, Klotz, sit back and listen and then pick your answer, brother.
Yeah, Klotz.
Would you rather
Yeah.
Would you rather have Hank Fraley stay with the Detroit Lions or Mark Brunell not go be the OC in New York and stay with the Detroit Lions and keep going working with Jared Goff? You can only pick one. Who are you picking?
Why? I honestly, I think Mark Brunell is really underrated. I don't think people talk about him a lot.
That's why I threw him in there.
Yeah. He's I'll go Hank. Just because I'm going to go Hank because I think Hank's going to develop guys, and they already have some young offensive linemen, and he's been doing a good job already with who they have. And I'm confident they would be able to find a quarterback coach that would work well with Goff rather than finding an offensive line coach as good as Hank. But I think Mark Brunell is like, he's up there, man. I'll go Hank though. I'll go Hank.
Yeah, I feel like at first it's like instantly Hank Fraley, but then when you think about it, which is more of a fragile situation, the quarterback room with no Ben Johnson or the offensive lineman room with no Ben Johnson? And it's not discrediting either of them, but I have more confidence in the offensive lineman staying elite with no Ben Johnson than Jared Goff. And I think that, to your point, Jeff, people sleep on Mark Brunell a lot because they think, well, it's just Ben Johnson and Jared Goff. Who do you think is coaching Jared Goff through all these play installs? It's not Ben Johnson being like, hey, Jared, stay. Mark Brunell has to coach these installs, put these installs in for this offense, for Jared Goff. So I think he's very valuable. With all that being said, Hank Fraley. I'd rather Hank Fraley stay.
Hank Fraley. Yeah, I think I'm Hank Fraley too. I think I would say Hank, offensive line wise. The weird thing is though, and this is why I did it the way it was because if one of those guys stay, I'm guessing it's because they want to be an OC. Right? Like that's my That's my thought process behind it, to where it's like Mark Brunell has an OC opportunity in New York. So for you to keep him, the only way would be to say, hey, Mark, you can be our new offensive coordinator. And that's how you would have to do it. So that's my thought process. All right, next one. You boys ready?
Let's do it.
This one might be it might be one-sided. This might be another one-sided one. Defensive coordinator position. Dennis Allen. I have two choices to pick from here.
Three? We're doing three?
You get a choice of three. This, that, or that. This, that, or that.
This, that, or that.
This, that, or the other. Dennis Allen, Rex Ryan, Matt Eberflus. Take your pick.
You said Dennis Allen, Rex Ryan, or Matt Eberflus?
Yeah. Originally, I had Robert Saleh. When I did the prep, I had Robert Saleh signed. So it's like, all right, we got it.
Okay. I think for me personally, it would be between Matt Eberflus or Dennis Allen. And I think people are quick to dismiss Matt Eberflus, but I do think he would be a really good hire if they actually hired him. Like, I would be fine with it.
So you're going Matt Eberflus.
Well, I'm gonna stick with Dennis Allen, but I think I'm gonna go with Dennis Allen just because of the ties there. I think it'd be a smoother transition. But I respect Matt Eberflus on the defense side of the ball. But I'll go Dennis Allen.
Give me Flus. Look, I understand to your point, Jeff. People are going to quick to dismiss him, but kind of like how people are like, wow, it's really smart. Ben Johnson stayed within the division. He's coached against all the teams. Now you have Matt Eberflus, who the Bears, say whatever you want about the offense, obviously pitiful. Like, we're not going to deny that. The Bears defense was always good. They were always good. And I think defensively this year, coming into Detroit, that would be Matt Eberflus's best defensive roster. He's been a head coach before, so he has the experience. And he's a 419 guy, so you know he's gritty. I'd bring in Matt Eberflus.
All right, another coaching one here, boys. Oh, and by the way, I'll take Dennis Allen. I don't hate the Matt Eberflus thing. I think he'll do a great job. I think because of his head coaching position, what he did in Chicago and the way it ended, everything about it was bad, but he's a great DC. He'd be a great DC. So I wouldn't hate the hire if that's the route they ended up going. I don't think Detroit Lions fans should. Like, you don't have to have that recency bias or that bias that he was the Chicago Bears head coach and he failed doing that. Dennis Allen failed being a head coach since New Orleans as well. So to me, it's two guys who are great defensively who could not be head coaches. Last one here for the coaches. I have a couple other ones. Coaching one. This is a defensive coordinator position. If you had to check the box, if Dan Campbell sat you down and gave you a piece of paper and said, you get to pick the next DC, are you taking Larry Foote or are you taking Kelvin Shepard? Do you think Kelvin's ready to go, or you think, hey, go Larry and get both of those guys, keep both of them in the room? Who are you going to pick?
So hypothetical scenario, because you guys know how I feel, but I like this question. I'll go for this. I think it sucks saying it because I don't want it to be like a disrespect. Like, I don't want to disrespect Kelvin Shepard. I don't. But we just got done talking about how he might not be prepared. Not prepared, but ready. I think that's a better way to phrase it. Ready. So I'm going to go with Larry Foote because I think he's a little more ready. I think he's a little older than Kelvin Shepard. I think Kelvin will be a defensive coordinator. But right now, if I had to pick an inexperienced one, I would probably go Larry Foote, personally.
I said my piece. Give me Kelvin Shepard. Look, especially with coaching experience farther in the playoff, give me Kelvin Shepard with this Detroit Lions team. I understand that Larry Foote's been there in Tampa, but either way, like, neither of these guys have been a defensive coordinator before. He's going to, like I said it already, he's going to have the same mentality as Aaron Glenn. He knows exactly what to get out of this defense. He knows the personnel. And at the end of the day, like, if you're Kelvin Shepard, I think you have shown enough what you have done with that linebacker room to be like, hey, I've proven enough to be a next step up. Not saying that Larry Foote hasn't, but in my opinion, why go hire assistant somewhere else when you have one that could potentially be ready? Because Larry Foote could potentially be ready. Like, people aren't going to go out there and blast Larry Foote on social media, just like people aren't going to go out there and blast Kelvin Shepard on social media. Like, if you do it, like, I think it's a more risk-reward thing with Larry Foote when you have a guy potentially right there with Kelvin Shepard. I'm not going to be mad if Larry Foote gets hired, but in my opinion, you give the nod to Kelvin Shepard originally.
Yeah, you know what, Klotz, I respect you. I really do respect you. Just dying on the hill with Kelvin. And I think if Kelvin gets it again, I'm staying on this to where if Kelvin does get it, that means he's ready to go. And I trust Dan to be able to make that decision to promote a guy like Kelvin Shepherd. But I think Larry Foote, I would rather have Larry Foote. And the biggest reason why to me, it's because if Larry Foote gets that job and Kelvin doesn't get promoted, you get both of those guys in the room. I think that's more valuable than just promoting Kelvin and then being like, we don't want anyone else. Like, I think it's more valuable to have Larry and Kelvin in that room, honestly.
I kind of want like a fresh face too. I kind of want a fresh face.
I don't hate that either.
Like,
I know it's kind of –
yeah, go on.
I know it's kind of a cop-out saying it that way, but I just think that's the truth. Like, if Kelvin's not leaving and Dan knows he's staying, I'm probably just being like, I'm bringing Larry in, and now we have two dudes. And I'm not saying co-defensive coordinators. Larry's going to be calling the plays and running this thing, but Kelvin's next man up when Larry gets a head coaching opportunity. That's how I'll look at it.
Yeah.
All right, I got one or two more. I've got two more here.
All right.
This one's a free agency question. Brad Holmes, and I think we have a Brad Holmes video we're going to look at in a little bit. Free agency question, boys. In free agency, would you rather sign a defensive lineman or a corner? We had this conversation early on this week and last week about the corner, how the two positions on this team that you need to upgrade is the defensive line in the corner room. If you had an opportunity to sign, obviously you don't want a big time player like Max Crosby or anything, but which way would you rather go with that?
So
and remember, Carlton Davis is a corner too. He's a free agent.
So I'm going to answer this. You said sign.
Yes.
I think they draft a defensive lineman. So I'm going to go sign a corner. I think they need, honestly, guys, I love Taron Arnold, but you got to bring in some competition for him. He's got to earn that starting spot next year. I don't give a damn. So I'm bringing in another corner. I'm re-signing Carlton Davis, and I'm signing another starting corner. And if Taron Arnold can't beat him out, then ride the bench. That's where I'm at with cornerback, because I don't think it should just be given to Taron Arnold. He's got to earn that shit. So give me a signing, right? Not just acquiring, signing. Give me a corner because I think they'll draft a defensive lineman.
Yeah, make great points there. I mean, I hope they do both, but if I had to pick one, like you get a corner or you get defensive lineman, I'm going defensive lineman because I think just through the history of the NFL, defensive line ends up being more important, especially when you have Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Amik Robertson, Terrion you could see. I think it'd be more important to go get a dominant defensive edge on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson, because if you look at the NFL right now, especially if you even look last week, there's not really a premier corner left in the playoffs. Like if you think of the top two corners right now off the top of your head, you go Pat Surtain, Sauce Gardner. Now, obviously, they don't contribute directly for them being wins, but if you look at defensive fronts, they affect the quarterback more quickly, and I think that's all this Detroit Lions team needs. I think with the safety play they have, it'd be more vital to get a dominant duo on the other side of Hutch than to try to go get a guy that can be balanced in between Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold. So that's where I would go.
Yeah, I've been pretty consistent on this this whole week. We kept bringing up the corner situation, Jeff. I'm with you. The competition. I think to get a guy like Terrion to his next level, or not even to his next level, but to hit his ceiling, you have to have people in there to compete. And I know there are guys that boom, they get it right away. You look over there in Philly, you're seeing those guys out there competing instantly. For me though, it's just like get a third corner in there. Even if you re-sign Carlton Davis, I think Amik's going to be at that the nickel spot and let Branch go back. But go get yourself another corner to where it's like he has to compete. Just like how you got Amik last year, go find another guy like that that's going to push Terrion Arnold to a different level. Because you don't want guys getting too comfortable. I'm not saying Terrion's comfortable, but you want your guys to keep progressing. And especially a guy coming off a rookie year to where it wasn't his best rookie year, you need to get him at that level. You need to. He's a first-round draft pick. You can't go a couple years and be like, oh, he's that Jeff Okudah. No, you can't have that. You need to have him in there, and you need to have someone in there to compete in training camp. Jeff, I'm spot on with you with that one.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, guys, real quick. I mean, Amik Robertson played outside, and it looked like he immediately was, better than Taron Arnold. I mean, let's just be real. So, like,
and that's the thing. Terrion should have been that guy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so I'm willing to give him some longer leash. Of course, I get it. Not all the corners can't be elite year one. I get that. But next year, it is. Hey,
I think you have to bring a third guy.
I'm with you.
I think you have to bring that third guy in. I don't think there's a question behind it. But I would still love to get a D. Obviously, it's this or that, but I would love to get a D lineman still. Like draft one and bring one in. I would love that. Last one here, boys. This one's kind of a different one, and we'll have a segment on it later, so you guys don't have to go in depth. More so, this one's just I would like to see the chat, and I would like to hear your guys' just first thought that pops in your head for this one. You don't have to go in depth because we're going to talk about this throughout the next couple weeks, way more in depth. Extension talk. You go over there, Juice J? Extension talk. Yeah, you just let it go. Extension talk. Hey, all right. Let's wrap. Let's get this in. Are you giving an extension? Yes or no, Jameson Williams this offseason?
What is he?
This offseason?
What does he got? One more year?
He's eligible. He's eligible this offseason.
So this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. I think the only
I believe he is. Am I wrong on that? I believe he's eligible.
So, well, he's in his third year?
He's going into his fourth year.
So he is eligible. He has a fifth-year option because he's a first-round pick.
Or do you wait until next year? So
this is where I'm at with it. Kirby Joseph is the guy that I'm focused on right now. I want to get Kirby's wrapped up. He's eligible. I'm extending that man right away. J-Mo, I'm picking up that fifth-year option when it comes, but I'm not extending him yet. I'm going to let him play out. I want one more year. I want one more year out of J-Mo because what we've seen out of J-Mo through his first 2 years is, coming back from injury, inavailability, little immaturity, but we've seen a lot more of a mature, productive receiver lately, and it's been awesome. He's really growing, and honestly, nothing but praise to him. But I'm not just giving him an extension for that. I mean, we got to see another year of what he's doing. I think if you sign him, if you just give him a contract right now, to me, it's premature, and sometimes that can get you in trouble when you pay for something off a small sample size. So I want more production before I commit into him long term.
This is the offseason to worry about Hutch. This is the offseason to worry about Kirby, in my opinion. So lock those two guys down. You can worry about J-Mo. Like you said, Jeff, I'm probably picking up the fifth-year option, and then you can look at it then.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's the first time we agreed.
All right. This is the thing, boys. You can give multiple extensions. There's not like, hey, you got to get this guy, and then you can work. Listen, you extend Kirby. You extend Hutch. You give those guys their extensions before the market just blows up. Jameson Williams is going to be productive next year, right, boys? Yes or no?
Yeah, I would assume yes.
Would you say he's going to be for 17 a game? Yes, available.
Based on what he did.
But what I'm asking you is like, what are your projections for Jameson Williams? Early projections. Do you think he breaks 1,000 next year?
You want me to be completely honest with you?
Yes.
I in my mind, I think he's productive next year, and it's a similar year. That's what I really hope. So this. But am I as confident in him doing that as Kirby? Absolutely not.
Listen, you can again, Jeff. This is the thing where I don't want you to get wrapped up in. You don't have to pick one or the other. That wasn't the question. Kirby had nothing to do with this. You can re-sign multiple guys. Last year, you re-signed David Montgomery. You re-signed Panay Sewell. You re-signed Jared Goff. You re-signed Amon-Ra St. Brown. No, it's not. You can re-sign multiple players in an offseason. You don't have to. You don't have to split them up. But my point is, if you think J-Mo's going to have the same year productive-wise that he had this year, the price tag's only going to go up. It's only going to go up. And if you're worried about, hey, I don't know if we're going to have the money to sign J-Mo, you get him cheaper right now. If you know next year and Brad Holmes has a little piece in him that you might want to re-sign him and that actually is on the table next year, you do it now. Because the price tag of the market goes up, and two, back-to-back years of J-Mo going over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns, he's going to ask for a bigger price tag. Jeff, you can think that I'm wrong or all you want. It's a fact. When he sits down with his agent next year, if you don't sign him and he puts the stats on the table, this year he puts it down and he goes, oh, you have 1 year, you have these suspensions, you have last year where you weren't productive, you have this. This is where he lines up with the NFL over the players in his position over the last couple years. But then you do it next year, the price tag's going to change. The wide receiver market's going to change. Guess who gets a big contract? Jamar Chase. Other guys at J-Mo's level going to get more contracts over the offseason. If you're Brad Holmes, you do what you did last year with some of these other guys. You say, let's get ahead of the market. You don't even have to do a 4 or 5 year deal. You say, hey, give me a 3-year deal, and it's going to be at this price range, and we could talk about it, and we know we have you at least not next year, but the 3 years after that. You don't have to do a crazy deal. but just say, hey, listen, like, it's a smart signing to do it. If you know you're going to do it next year, you do it now because you get him way cheaper than you would in a year from now.
Yeah, but
way cheaper.
And I get where you're coming from, but you're thinking of there's one outcome. My point is there isn't just one outcome. There's a situation I could propose to you because you just said, well, he's going to produce next year and be available every single game, so pay him. We don't know that. Like,
you saw what you got out of him for a whole season. You can't use that against him anymore. But Jeff, you know what you're getting out of him now. This is such a bad, to me, it's such a, I agree, but we know what he does and we know his ceiling is. This was the argument with JMO last year when he wasn't playing and the year before. This is the people that didn't like JMO. This is the people that didn't like JMO. And all they said was, wait till he could, I want to see it for a year. I want to see him consistently do it. I want to see him. Okay, he did it. Okay, but he did it. And now you're moving the goalpost, and all the same people are going to say, no, I want to see for more than 1 year now. And then you get to next year. No, and then you get to next year, and you're like, all right, how much are we going to give him? Oh, we're giving him too much because
Booner, he's under contract for 3 more or 3 more years.
1 more year. For one more year.
It was his 3rd season. You have his 4th, and you pick up
the extension to it. Jeff, if you get it 2 years early, it's cheaper than you would in 2 years.
But what you're not understanding is you brought up examples like Panay. Okay, that dude's been the best tackle in the league and have played like every game. Amon-Ra has been a top 5.
I think this year you've shown that JMO is a part of your offense.
It's 1 year. I'm not committing money. Kirby's had, I mean, and I know you're not mentioning, I'm just bringing up examples, reasons why I'd pay other players. Kirby's done it 3 years in a row, played in every game. Like 1 year, it's great. And I'm a big JMO guy. But even I'm like, hold on, let's slow the roll here. It's not about proving if he's a good wide receiver. Booner, we agree. He's a good wide receiver. You're telling me to pay him right now based off 1 year?
Cheaper.
I'm sorry. I wouldn't do that.
You're most likely going to pay him in a year
Brad
or
Holmes
two.
will not pay him this offseason. I promise.
Okay, we'll see. We will see.
And just kind of my point, like, because it has nothing to do with it. I'm going to pull a Jeff here. Like, if you're saying that Jameson Williams would be the wide receiver 1 of this team, I'd say absolutely sign him while it's cheaper. But he's the wide receiver 2. Do you know how many? Look at Ladd McConkey this year. Look at Jalen McMillan. I'm going to pull the Jeff and be like, you can find a wide receiver that will go out and give 1,000 yards. You can find X wide receivers.
So that's a bad route to take. JMO was elite this year.
JMO, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not saying that whatsoever. My point is, when you have Jameson Williams, that money down the line could be allocated to possibly a guy like we were just talking about in Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Branch. Like, that money's going to matter for those contracts. So when I look at Jameson Williams, again, coming off an elite year, I'm happy we saw elite year off of JMO. But if that money could potentially contradict somebody like Jahmyr Gibbs, like the money he wants is not going, I don't know. I'm not willing to do that yet. Sam Laporta's got to come up. There's a lot of offensive pieces I'd rather have long-term than Jameson Williams. And I understand you could say, well, you can have all of them. There's going to be a point where you can't because defensively you need pieces as well. So I would wait just 1 more year on JMO.
This is such a, to me,
he's not going to be asked for a wide receiver 1 money.
It's such a contradicting thing that's happening here.
No,
hear me out. All right, quit saying it's not. Let me talk. What it is you guys are talking about, hey, save money. Like, someone just put it in the chat, like, you get JMO this year for 22 million for the next, and you add 3 more years onto his deal, so you have him 5 years at 2022. And if he turns out being a wide receiver 1 or that level, you're going to have to pay him 26, 27, 25, 28. Like, you're going to have to pay him to where if you can save $5 or $6, $7 million a year over the next 5 years, if you just get his deal done now, that gives you the money to keep a Jahmyr Gibbs. That gives you the money to keep one of those safeties. That gives you the money to keep a defensive lineman. Like, that's where I think long-term wise, it's like, you can't just sit there and always wait and be like, I just want to wait and see. No, at some point, to make money, you have to spend money. And to make a profit, you have to spend money. And if you would think JMO in the future potentially can be that, and you have an opportunity to go get him now and extend him for $5 million cheaper a year than you would next year or the year after, that gives you $5 or $6 more million, boys, than that you could give to other players on this team. Like, that $5 or $6 million is a Kevin Zeitler. That's like a Graham Glasgow. That's like a player where it's like that adds pieces to your team, and you have to save money any way you can on this team. And if you think JMO's going to continue to be that guy, you do the deal. You get it done.
The thing where we're looking at it differently is, Booner, you look JMO as a must sign. I don't think JMO is a must sign. I don't. I think if you could use that JMO contract to go get a big-time player on the defensive side of the ball, I would rather prefer that. And I think defensively, you need to do everything you can to pour in money, even if it's short, long-term, on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive line. So that's why I'm saying, once you get the defense figured out, and you're like, we got money to sign J-Mo, go for it. But I look at J-Mo as he's very fucking good. I'm not going to deny J-Mo's talent whatsoever. But it's J-Mo, in my opinion, is not the must-sign that Amon-Ra, Brian Branch in the future, Jahmyr Gibbs, Penei Sewell. There's guys, Ali McNeil. I'm re-signing those guys. Kirby Joseph, I would re-sign those guys before Jameson Williams. And that's not really me disrespecting Jameson Williams. It's the praise I have for the other guys.
Yeah,
what they've done already.
See it differently. That's all. I get what you're saying, Booner. This is what I want to make very clear to you. Like, how I'm looking at it is J-Mo this year, like he got suspended again, by the way. Later into the year, we saw a lot of growth from him as a person. Like, he's really grown a lot to end the year. But am I going to take half the season of positive growth and give him a deal? Like, I need to see more. Like, if I'm paying you, I have to trust that what you're doing off the field, you're not going to get yourself into these situations and get suspended. Now, I think moving forward, I hope he won't, but Amon-Ra never questioned it. Penei never questioned it. Hutch, I won't question it. You can go to other guys. Kirby never had a problem. I'll pay him. Brian Branch, same thing. Like, J-Mo, I need a bigger sample size before I commit money. And if it costs me money, so be it. Because if I pay him now and we're in this situation, you lost the money anyway. So, like, I'd rather risk the $6-7 million and pay him more than give him the money.
And then you would rather get rid of Gibbs, or you would rather get rid of different guys.
Gave money to someone who's not even playing. So there's two sides to that. You're only looking at a positive, like, rainbows and sunshine angle.
I just don't think. I think we're past the point of thinking that J-Mo's not going to play.
Half a season, you're past it. Come on, bro.
Yeah, I think he's proved it.
So I want you as my GM.
He gave you 1,000+ yards. He gave you 1,000+ yards. I would love for you to be a GM where you move on from a guy like J-Mo. I would love for you to be a GM and move on from a guy like J-Mo, just to be like, well, I hope I can get another guy like him in free agency or in the draft.
Klotz said that. I didn't listen. I didn't say that. What I said is I need another year.
1,000-yard receiver. J-Mo's better than a 1,000-yard wide receiver. He's on an elite offense. There's a reason why.
Is availability not important?
He has been a majority of the year this year outside 2 games. 2 games. 2 games. 2 games, Jeff.
Last year suspended.
We're not talking about last year. We're talking about this year.
You want to keep going?
You're one of those guys. You're one of those guys. Okay, you're one of those guys. You want to use the 2 years before that.
Here's the thing.
You want to ignore what he did this year. You want to use years before.
If
one
I'm
of those
giving
guys.
you money, I have to trust that I don't have to worry about.
And he's proved it this year.
Half a fucking season.
He played 15 to 17 games. That's not half a season. He played in the playoffs. He played in 16 out of 18 games.
His point is he got suspended.
He got suspended.
2 games.
You
keep saying half a season.
Didn't get suspended based on off the field problems.
You keep saying half a season. The man played in 16 out of 8. He was available in 16 out of 18 games.
And what happened? What happened?
And he put up 1,000 yards and he had 8+ touchdowns.
What happened in those other 2 games?
He was available for 16 out of 18 games.
What happened in the 2 games?
What happened?
What happened? You answer it. What happened?
I don't know.
Why
You're the
couldn't
one
he play
asking.
another 2 games?
He was suspended.
Bingo. So that's why I'm not giving him the
18 games. 16 of 18 games, and he's one of the most electric players in the NFL.
You would have paid. Listen,
you're gonna let.
I need to see one more year. Booner, you're paying guys 3 years into their.
You know what? No, go ahead. Watch 2 or 3 more years of him, and then let me know if you think he's good enough to play. Just
at least I'll have an answer.
I would like to you. No, hey, just let me know, Jeff. Hey, whenever the time comes when you're like, hey, I think J-Mo's good enough, let me know, because I'm going to tell you what, I know it now. I know it now. You don't pay guys just based on talent. You pay guys based on availability, talent, 16 of 18 games. That's wait. Sorry, that's not available.
You'll pay guys for getting suspended. You'll pay guys for getting suspended and not being reliable. Oh, okay,
16 out of 18 games. That's not available.
Booner,
that's not available. No, I want you to answer. Hey, just like you said, bingo to me. I want to ask you, 16 out of 18. Is that availability or not? Yes or no?
Well, when you're suspended and
no, there's no
getting in yes or no. The field, 16, I'm not paying you right now.
No, hey,
I'm not
I didn't ask.
Right
there's no. It's a yes or no question. 16 out of 18. Yes or no? Is that availability? 16 out of 18 games.
Lacks context, which that's the only way you're going to sniff.
I'm asking you. You're saying his availability is a question. Context. He played in 16 out of the 18 of your games this year.
Why did he miss games?
I don't care why. You're talking about availability. You're talking about availability. If he missed half of the season or he missed 6, 7, 8 games, that's the question. He played in 16 out of the 18 of your games this year, Jeff Iafrate.
I pay. You know what? We have it differently. I have to pay God. If I'm going to pay you money, like Dan and Brad say, I
want you to play a majority of your games.
I'll use your example. Here, I'll go Booner on you. Like Dan and Brad say, I have to. They have to trust that on and off the field, you can be dependent on. He showed me
16 out of the 18 games.
15 regular season games, got suspended this year.
He missed 2 games.
Dude, you're just saying he missed 2 games. He didn't have a fucking sore ankle.
You're saying availability is his problem. He missed 2 games out of 18
last year, suspended.
We're talking about now. We're talking about this last year.
Get your head out of your ass. Back-to-back suspensions, dude.
Come on, Jeff.
Back-to-back suspension.
Come on, Jeff.
Can we give him a year where he doesn't get suspended before I can pay him?
You know what? Yeah, you know what? That's to get a contract now. That's now one of the requirements. You can't be suspended. You need a year without suspension. That's now a new requirement.
Yeah, you're gonna pay a guy.
That's now a new requirement.
Back-to-back years?
I don't know. Maybe the one guy that's one of the most electric and biggest playmakers in the NFL that played in 15 out of the 18.
No one's questioning.
Why would you not want to keep that talent in your building?
Okay.
Yeah, nothing for that, huh?
No, you're not making sense. Booner, you're not with Brad Holmes and Dan.
I like to keep.
You don't.
I like to keep talent in the building. I like to keep talent in the building.
They can be anything off the field. You'll pay them. Okay, noted. Awesome.
He has turned.
So now it matters.
Jeff, if he wasn't the good person and he hasn't been learning, they would have moved on. They would have cut him. They would have traded him. They would have moved on. They still have him, and he's still making plays after the suspension. After the suspension, they kept him on the team, and he's still making plays. He was available.
Talented. He is. We fought for. He is talented. I think he's in year 3, Booner. You don't have to pay him in year fucking 3. You got year 4, 5th year option. You're gonna argue, well, what if he explodes next year? What if he gets suspended again next year? So anything could happen, dude. That's why I'm not paying him right now. I need to see it.
You know what? That's fine. We could agree to disagree. I think you should extend him so you get him cheaper, and you don't have to. I like to find ways to save money because I want to keep Jahmyr Gibbs on my roster. No. But
your risk is higher, what you're doing.
I'll take the risk.
Risk.
I'm a betting man. I'll take the risk.
That can be
What's
tricky.
Crazy is 2 years from now or a year from now when we sign J-Mo to $27 million a year or $26 million a year.
From now.
No.
I can't believe this.
Are you going to let me talk?
A year from now, I would sign him. So now you're saying a year from
Jeff, no, you didn't let me finish my statement. I'm giving you an example, buddy. Relax. Let me talk.
No, go on. Finish it.
Yes, exactly, because you're gonna realize you look dumb from just freaking out there. In a year from now, when they do sign him, or if they do sign him for 26, 27 million, and he has another great year and he's available, and then the next year available again, you're gonna look back and be like, no, hold on. You're gonna look back and be like, damn, maybe Booner was right. Maybe we should have got him at 20 million, and maybe we should have got him because we knew what he was before, just because you wanted to wait.
No.
So, by the way, you look dumb trying to overreact.
No, I won't, because I'll have the evidence to pay him. You're not understanding my point.
And I already had the evidence. You want extra evidence.
You see into the future? You can just see into the future.
No, I saw 15 of the last 18 games. I saw the evidence that he could play football.
Bro, I just look at the situation.
Like, wow.
I just look at the situation in Cincinnati, where it's like, if Cincinnati were to lose T. Higgins, would they be that much worse if they were to add a guy that they could draft and develop in a year? Like, rookie wide receivers really do not take that long to develop. This Lions offense losing their wide receiver too. Granted, Jameson Williams is very good. Jameson Williams is replaceable. His speed is not, but there's some things that Jameson Williams could get better at. And
I'm not even going that route, Klotzy. And I actually get what you're saying. You're making a lot of sense. I'm not even arguing.
I just disagree with you.
I'm not even arguing that with Booner. I will pay him. I'm not paying him in year fucking 3.
Jeff, again, we agree to disagree. I do understand what you're saying. You're freaking out. I understand what you're saying. Like, you want to wait because you want to make sure for another year he doesn't get in trouble and things are good and he plays. I get it. I just disagree with you.
So
I just disagree. Exactly.
I 15 games
again,
is enough to
I
give a guy
understand what
max
you're saying.
deal.
You're getting worked up about. I understand what you're saying. I'm just on a different wavelength than you. I think you already got the sample size. You want a bigger sample size. That's fine.
Yeah, I think more than 15 games. I need 2 years, dude. I can't.
That's on you. Hey, that's you then. But me, like, I would rather just.
And you would have paid James Houston. Okay, awesome.
James Houston got hurt. James Houston was out the whole year.
1 year though. Pay him. Get ahead of it. Get ahead of it.
No, that's different. He got hurt after he had his big year.
He had a big year. You should have paid him then. You would have saved money, right?
His extension. Come on, Jeff. That's so different. You know it.
But I'm bullshitting.
Jeff, again, you're worked up and you're trying to find examples. You're gonna get me going again, and I understand what you're saying. Like relax, like end it. It's done, dude. Yes, I know. You keep saying that, buddy. Listen, buddy. I understand. I get you. You need to see more. I don't know what else to say. I legit don't know what else. Like, I understand. You want a bigger sample size. I don't. You keep going. I don't know what else to say. Like, you're trying to pull out like all these different examples. Like, we agree to disagree. We have two different mindsets.
I'm crazy for my philosophy on how I believe. I need a bigger sample size.
Klotz, please tell me a couple minutes ago.
You both. I was enjoying that segment. By you both made it sound like each of you were crazy. So you can't point the finger at anybody there.
I mean,
rate the
Jeff
Benji should have got Kenny G early on that.
He's doing it again, Klotz. Like, move on, buddy.
Kenny G early,
bud. Move on.
All right.
It's a situation where there's no winning of an outcome. Like, there's no outcome. It's like we could do this forever until Jameson signs either this year or next year.
Can we agree though? If he doesn't get extended, I get a "you're right" to me. This year, next year.
No, because you're still going to extend him for 27, 28 million.
Oh, Brad, wait. My point
is he's going to be available next year, and he's going to go off, and you're going to look stupid when you have to pay him 30 million, and you might have to move on from him because he just went off for a second straight year. I think in 2 years, whenever
he's side would look stupid because you're going to re-sign Hutch this year, you're going to re-sign Kirby, and you're going to add pieces. Like there's reasons why like people are on both sides of it. There's not one clear reason why. There's multiple perspectives.
Yeah, honestly, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. There's an argument for
that's
both
why
sides.
I tried to say at this point you started
at the end. You did.
You brought up James.
Act like you were the
and then after I tried to be. Once I realized, one of us had to realize that we were just running in circles, and there's going to be no winner of this argument.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep going.
I was the first to realize it, and I said Jeff, and then you go. James Houston. I'm like, okay, buddy.
Kenny Galladay.
You just started bringing him up. It's like, dude, come on now.
No, he's not Kenny Galladay. J-Mo's a great player. Not arguing.
It's a good conversation, to be honest. And this isn't getting back into it. It's a good conversation. Like Midwest Kid said, it's not monopoly money, man. Like, I think of it like this with that. It's like, there's going to be guys, whether it's J-Mo or not, where you might have to extend early because you want to save money and get on a guy early before that. Or you might want to wait because you want to see if a guy, you can get him cheaper. Like, that's where it is. And it's like whether Brad Holmes thinks like, hey, I can get him cheaper now or not. And he does trust him. Like, Brad could have my mindset, Jeff, or he could have yours. We don't know. Like, we never will know. And that's the thing. Like, we won't know until he does the deal. So
Jeff just looks
yeah, I think honestly, my honest prediction,
got like Jeff riled up there.
No, because my honest prediction. And by the way, the Kenny Galladay thing is kind of funny. Shout out to Benji. Although it was in good fun. It wasn't serious. He's not Kenny Galladay.
What's crazy is
let me just add this. I want to say this. Okay. What I think Brad's gonna do, typically what Brad does is he'll pay a guy early. He'll pay Hutch, he'll pay Amon-Ra, he'll pay all these guys. I don't think you cannot say J-Mo's those guys, man. Like, those guys have produced and been available every single year. So my prediction, I think J-Mo will get extended, but I think it's going to be in a year I think a year or two. That's my honest prediction. We can disagree, but that's where I'm at with it.
I don't think we can make a bet on it because I agree. I don't think we can make a bet on it because I think J-Mo gets extended this year or not, no matter what. I just think it would be dumb. Like, there's no right or wrong to me. I just think it's dumb if you wait another year because I think he's going to have that year next year.
So that would be the wrong. If it's dumb, it's wrong.
I guess, yeah. I don't know.
You disagree with Brad Holmes?
I do.
There's a pizza bet on the line. I'll be the moderator. There's a pizza bet on the line.
No, because Booner doesn't want to bet it's this offseason because I'll bet him. It ain't this offseason, man. He's not getting extended this offseason. There's no way. I will bet whatever you want to bet.
We'll come back to this. What's crazy is I brought this as a topic and this or that. And I literally said, boys, don't go long on this because we want to make this a top.
Bro, you're looking at like I didn't even give that much of a response. You were the one
at
the end who just started diving in and be like, "Here's why you're wrong."
It's this guy. Just guy.
No, don't blame me. I got gaslit and I fought back. I barked back.
Okay, don't use the word gaslit because that was the last thing I did. I had my take. Yeah, because you don't know how to use it right. I had my take. Having my take and being opposite of yours is not gaslighting. That's having a take.
Hey, but me disagreeing with you and getting very passionate. Don't tell me to chill, buddy. I'm passionate.
Well, I could tell you to chill. You're not gaslighting me though. You're passionate. I respect it. Okay. I would tell you to chill though. You were getting a little flaily.
No. I'm passionate. All right.
You are. You were getting a little flaily, like a kid getting off the school bus and not wanting to like go home or something, or opposite way. What's the saying?
Yeah.
To go to school. Kid doesn't want to get on the school bus to go to school.
Appreciate you all in the chat, man. We went 7 minutes over just yelling at each other. So, hey, appreciate you all. Don't tell me to chill, buddy. Benji. Hey, you guys are the best. Appreciate you all.
Shout out Easy, man. Shout out Flannel, too, hopping in the chat.
Shout out Easy, man.
Shout out. Benji just put it on his shirt. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Friday show. It'll be a good one. Appreciate Jeremy. Appreciate Anthony.
So it's my bad too, Jeff. I know you're going through a lot with pregnancy and all of that, and the kid coming. So
yeah, that newborn joke. Really, people thought I have a kid. I don't.
You do.
I play Junior coming.
I typed in the chat, man. I wrap up better than John Kaminsky's hand. It's like a club. So we don't play around over here. All right, let's get out of here. Let's take 5.
Life on the edge, rookie.
Go Lions. Go Jameson.
Practice jersey off.
Love you guys.
Get in there, kid.
Shout out Anthony and shout out Jeremy, man.
Hey, appreciate you all. Have a great night. We'll catch you tomorrow. Go.
Hey, rumor is Easy's on the show tomorrow. Just rumor.
Yeah, I heard that.
Rumor has it.
See you guys tomorrow.
Love you guys.
Peace.
Peace.